You've waited and you've waited and you've waited for this episode, this interview. This is a special one. I know I've been waiting for a long time to have Tiffany.
Tiffany Aliche, better known as the Budgetnista.
Some of us look at her as just a financial educator, but she actually got a law created in New Jersey. This law made it mandatory for middle school students to learn financial education.
It didn't hit me that I got a law passed until one of my friends, my neighbor, she has a daughter, Olivia, who's in middle school, and she was doing homework. I was over, and she was like, Auntie Tiffany, can you help me with my homework? I was like, sure. And I was like, you doing homework about money? You're doing homework about money!
In college, she was called the money girl. People are coming to her for financial advice.
It wasn't until college that my college roommate had like debt collectors calling the dorm room. I was like, they do that? And so I would go home and be like, Daddy, let me tell you. He's like, that's not good, Tiffany. Tell her this. And so I became this conduit between his information and what my friends needed.
Woo-wee! She is no stranger to fraud. The financial literacy guru got taken advantage of financially.
He had himself a Lambo, a penthouse in New York. He was a scammer.
Was he? Her first book goes crazy, and she's doing it again. The new book is out now, and she's launching it exclusively on the Social Proof Podcast.
This is the basis for all money, right?
Yes.
You have to make money.
Yep.
Then you have to live under your means, whatever that means.
Yes.
Right? You have to save some and then invest some of what you've saved. It has to grow. And that's literally it. That's the magic.
Imagine being extremely successful and you lose the person that you love. And call me insensitive, but I want to know, after you lose a spouse, at what point do you start dating again?
So I'm not in a rush for anything. Because also, too, I had something excellent. So what I look like settling for what? You know, like...
Right. This is not an episode that you want to miss. We are having conversations not only about financial literacy, but how to manage the mental and emotional pressures of becoming successful. This is one you want to share with your friends and comment in the chat, okay? We want to hear your thoughts in real time during this episode. Have fun. Welcome to the Social Proof Podcast, where we find dope people that did dope stuff. Today is no different, man. This lady's really, really rich.
Oh my God.
Real. Yo, I gotta say this because before I knew who you were, someone shared with me who you were. And it wasn't about your podcast, and it wasn't about your book or New York Times bestseller. They said this lady got some insane amount of people in her program that pay monthly. And it was like, okay, how many people in your program?
Well, we graduated 100,000 and currently we have about 15,000. I mean, I have a bunch of businesses, so I'm assuming you mean my Live Richer Academy.
Live Rich Academy. 100,000 people have been through that program.
And counting.
But there's 15,000 active people right now.
Yes.
How you do that?
By building community first and foremost. So I've been 15 years as an entrepreneur. And from the very beginning, I want to say the first 4 or 5 years, I really didn't make any money. And I spent really those years building community. You know, like I didn't have any money, but I do have this personality. You know, God doesn't bless you with everything, but he gives you something.
For sure.
And I knew how to use my personality to build community. I didn't know at the time how to monetize the community, but I knew that community, it's clear to get clear, David, like what a community is. It's a group of people who are gathered around a similar goal or like thought process or whatever, and then you give them something to do. And so when I first started, the thing I gave them to do was I started this Live Richer Challenge, which was this free 3-month program that I created. And I told myself, okay, I want it to launch in January because everybody wants to lose weight, get their money together in January. And my goal was I wanted to get 10,000 women, especially Black women signed up. And it took me 8 months to get 10,000 women.
For a free 3-month challenge.
Yeah. So no, it was a 30-day challenge, basically like a 3-week challenge.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So, but back then you have to understand this was 2014, so there was no Instagram, very little Twitter. I think that at the time they didn't even have Facebook for Business.
Yeah.
So to convince, and people now everybody knows like, oh, you could sign up for these free things, but they were like, I don't get it. What's the scam? And I'm like, no, I want to be of service. You guys keep asking me the same financial questions. I was a school teacher. I have my master's in education. I knew how to write curriculum. I was like, this is just
You were a teacher back then.
Well, I was a teacher until 2009.
Until 2009.
I lost my job due to the recession. And then I started the Budgetnista. And I said, I was teaching at the United Way. I was teaching their financial education program that I wrote for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so people kept coming to me and saying, I see what you're doing at the United Way, but I live in Florida, not New Jersey.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what if I take this program and put it online? And so that was the Literature Challenge, my first kind of like community program that I created. Yeah. And it was free at the United Way because the United Way paid me. So I made it free online too. Oh. So I just figured I would just get sponsors to pay.
Gotcha.
And I did get like one sponsor to pay. And it was like, a good amount, maybe like $10,000, I think.
But United Way paid for it though?
No, they didn't pay for the online version. Okay. They paid me for when I came in to teach
for a
classes.
live event. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just thought people love this in person. What if I did it online and still offered it for free and to see if I can find someone else to pay me to do it?
But no one paid to do it.
Not really. That's why I said the first few years I made like no money, but I learned so much by doing that challenge because I'd reached out to all these big major brands. Quite honestly, when they found out that I was serving Black women, they were not interested.
Really?
When I tell
what year is this?
2014, I want to say.
The Black woman support Black women movement wasn't popping yet.
No, when I tell you, because at first I would say, oh, I've got 3,000 women signed up. A brand, their lives would light up. I would go to these networking events and conferences, and then I remember I created this media kit, and I had all these faces of Black women who give me their pictures so I can show, and they were like, oh yeah, I don't have any money. Like, really? But you just told Sarah, my friend who has 100 people and a wish and a dream, that you have like all this money for her. And I remember being like, wow, in the year of our Lord 2014, we still on this racism. But I'm glad for that because I would have created this program and they would have owned it. But I got pissed and I created it myself. And I said, I'm gonna do it myself. And I did. And January 2014-15, the challenge launched. 10,000 women signed up. It went so well that another 10,000 signed up quickly after that.
But free though, at this point still. Okay.
And I didn't know, but there was a bank in particular that had this free bank account or this savings account. And I suggested it in the challenge. And I didn't know they were offering $25 a person. I sent them 2,500 people. Do the math. When I tell you I wept because I was broke. Hold
on. They were offering $25 a person.
And I sent them 2,500 people.
And you sent them 2,500 people. So, and that was they were giving them $25 or they were offering a referral for referral. They didn't give you a referral at all.
Well, because I didn't sign up for the program. I didn't know until after. And I was like, because I didn't know how to monetize.
When
I had nothing. I mean, I was living in a room. I had rented a room. Like I just came home. Everybody's not going to get that reference. But I was renting a room. I was like 30-something years old. And I just was like, I couldn't believe it. And I cried because I was like, I have no money. That's $60,000. That would have been my money for the year. And so, but then it was from that literature challenge that I learned how to grow community.
Yeah.
I learned how to where to put them at the time. It was a Facebook group. And I learned okay, they were open to products and services. So I wrote my first book then, which was a literature challenge book. I self-published it. And I will say that month, they bought enough of the books to give me $10,000. And I was like, okay, people are willing to pay because I didn't even want to put out the book because I'm like, well, the challenge is free. But there were a number of women who were like, I don't want to do it online. I want a physical copy. And I'm like, well, why would you want to pay for a physical copy? Like a dummy. Why would you want to pay for a physical copy when it's for free? They're like, well, I just put a book together.
Yeah.
So I paid some college student like $400 to format all of the challenge was held on my blog. To format all the blog posts and put it into a book. And it's still on Amazon, still making me money every month. My self-published books make me a few $1,000s every month.
Oh, wow. Still.
Yo,
I don't even think I introduced you. I was just so excited we got into the conversation. Introduce yourself. How do you introduce yourself?
I introduce myself as Tiffany Aliche, better known as the Budgetnista, New York Times bestselling author. First Black woman on the cover of Money magazine by herself.
Really?
NAACP award nominee. Co-writer of the law, the Budgetnista law in the state of New Jersey, making financial education mandatory for middle school students.
Whoa, hold on.
I know.
Hold on. You have a law in New Jersey.
I do. A1414.
That makes financial literacy mandatory
for middle school students. Because there's already a law for high school. And so for middle school
You
students.
made it. How do you do that? What was the process of that?
When I used to work at the United Way and wrote their financial education program, a woman there, Angela V. McKnight, was one of my students. She was like my age, but she's still a student. And she ran for office in Jersey City for Assemblywoman. And she won. And when she won, she hit me back up, was like, girl, I want to get a law passed for financial education. And I said, okay. And she was like, I said, well, there's already a law for high school, but I think it should be younger than that. Mm-hmm. And so we worked together to craft what I thought should be in it. Met with other stakeholders like principals, superintendents, teachers. And then she brought it to like the House and the Senate. They voted on it. And then the governor at the time, well, Governor Murphy, he vetoed, well, he signed it. Well, really the first Black Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver, she signed the law. So a Black woman signed the law at the Barack Obama school, a Black middle school. I know, in Newark. So it was like black on black on black on black on black. And then Angela herself was a Black woman. So it was just amazing. And so that it didn't hit me that I got a law passed until one of my friends, my neighbor, she has a daughter, Olivia, who's in middle school. And she was doing homework. I was over. And she was like, Auntie Tiffany, can you help me with my homework? I was like, sure. And I was like, you doing homework about money? You're doing homework about money.
That's my law.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so.
Incredible.
I've been busy.
So I'm still kind of, I'm missing something because you were a teacher, 2009, you get let go because of the recession.
Yes. And
then 2000, what is the idea 2009 to these 3 years? What was the idea at this point?
So
you don't just leave just to be like, all right, I'm out.
No, well, I was teaching and I loved it for 10 years. I graduated college, got a degree in business, hated my internships and said, I think I'll teach because I really love kids.
Yeah.
My dad was a CFO of a small nonprofit, and he has his master's in economics, his bachelor's in finance. So learning about money was what we did at home.
Right.
And I didn't know that people didn't get that. Because what's normal for you as a kid, you're like, that's just normal, right? Yeah. It wasn't until college, and my college roommate had like debt collectors calling the dorm room. I was like, they do that? And so I would go home and be like, Daddy, let me tell you. He's like, that's not good, Tiffany. Tell her this. And so I became this conduit between his information and what my friends needed.
In college.
And then I thought, this is actually kind of interesting. So I just said, well, I'm going to take finance classes and learn for myself. And I became like the go-to girl for my friends. Like, this girl is hair, this girl's the lash girl, I was the money girl. Like, I got my refund check, Tiffany, what should I do? And I just,
interesting.
But it was just something I did because I enjoyed it. Even when I taught in Newark, and I was young, I was like 21, 22. And I can remember the parents asking me, let me hold something to the weekend, Miss Tiffany. And I'm like, no, Keisha, but what you can do is during nap time, come and get this financial education. I'll show you how to budget.
Oh, wow.
I'll show you how to open up a bank account because you're still going to check cashing. Mm-hmm. Because I live like, there's Newark and there's Newark.
Yeah.
And I worked in Newark. Yeah. Like the South Ward where it was like, let's not go outside to play today. Mm-hmm. And so the parents would come because we were the same age. And I was like, why are you paying that company so much money for your taxes? Because I knew my dad taught me how to do taxes. I'm like, come during nap time. I'll do it for you for free.
Dad taught you how to do taxes?
Mm-hmm. When I was 19.
Yo, but real quick, as a college student, when people were asking you what to do with their refund check, what were you telling them? Were you investing in stocks? Were you?
No, basic things like, one, if you need this check to last you however long, we would sit down and be like, what are the things you have to pay for?
Yeah.
And then how much do you want to save? And then really it was like, we wanted to do fun things like that homecoming thing is going to cost us $50. This is going to cost. So we would just map out based upon what was important to us, And it was like, instead of like spending it all this weekend, like this is what you should do because last time you didn't have enough money to roll with us when we went to the concert. So let's make sure you're good, because I was still young. So, I wasn't thinking about setting aside in that way. But as I got older, like learning about credit, because my dad put me on his card to be an authorized user. Yeah. And so I was like, okay. So then I told my friends, well, if your parents have good credit, see if your mom will let you do that too. So by the time we graduate, you could get an apartment because you have good credit based upon being an authorized user. Mm-hmm.
Isn't family so important, especially when they can teach you something? So
important. Like, man. I would not be here on Father's Day whenever I post my dad. So many women, especially Black women, say like, he's the father to us all, Tiffany, because it's through you if he had not taught you, you would not be teaching us. I didn't have access to this, you know?
Man.
Mm-hmm.
So you get out of college and when you're in college, you want to be a what?
I didn't know, because who knows? I hate that at 17 you have to decide your life.
Some people know though.
Well, I didn't. I just knew I didn't want to be broke. That's what I said. I said, I don't want to be broke, and I didn't want to hate what I did. So I had a bunch of business internships, hated them. And I said, I think like one day I went to visit my friend who was a teacher, and I was like, this seems kind of fun. Because I'm fun, you know? And I was just like, I want to do something fun, but I don't want to be broke. But I heard teachers are broke. Being
a teacher sounded fun?
Because I love kids. I mean, you don't know. Like, I'm being my best behavior because I turn up, you know? And I was just like, oh, I could have fun. And then I realized if I can manage my money well, I don't actually have to make as much.
Yeah.
And so that's what I determined. I was like, okay, if I can live under my means, save some, invest some, I can live, like I can still have a good life, but enjoy what I do.
Say what you said again. You said if you save...
So live under, so this is the basis for all money, right?
Yes.
You have to make money.
Yep.
Then you have to live under your means, whatever that means.
Yes.
Right? You have to save some and then invest some of what you've saved because it has to grow. And that's literally it. That's the magic.
And if you get that right, you don't have to make as much.
You don't. And so I started making $39,000 a year, but I was smart. So I stayed home 1 year, saved up my money, bought myself a little 2-year-old certified pre-owned car, like a 99 Nissan Altima. So no car note, insurance low, because, you know, I own the car, right? And then I was like, okay, I told my older sister and I, let's get a place together. We searched and found a really great place. It was a small little house, and she wanted $1,200, so it's $600 a piece, but included everything. Yeah. So all of a sudden, no car note, rent is $600. Which was, I mean, it's low now, but it was low then too.
Yeah.
You know? And so like, I purposefully was like managing my life to keep it under the threshold. And so by the time I was working like my 3rd year in teaching, I had saved almost $30,000.
Okay, hold on. Threshold. Talk to me about the threshold. What do you mean?
So meaning that like, okay, you make $39,000. Yep. So certainly you could trick it up at your local Mandy's. Some of y'all don't remember Mandy's, you're too young. At your local Mandy's. That's like the rainbow of back in the day. You can check it up there. Or I can say, this is how much money I take home every 2 weeks, which I don't know, maybe it was $1,200, maybe $2,000, something in that range. How can I keep it as low as possible? Yeah. Meaning this is what you make, that's your threshold. How can I keep that as low as possible? Keep my monthly expenses low. So when I went to buy furniture for our apartment, I was like, I'm gonna save until I can afford to pay it off. Like, I don't want to put it on a credit card. I don't want to finance a lamp, because then that increases my monthly expenses. Yeah. And I wanted to have enough to save. So your major focus was your monthly expenses. Yeah, to keep those low. So I had a gap between what I made and like what I had to spend. Yeah. You know? And so from that money, and then you could increase it further, but I used to babysit and tutor to make even more money. And so what did you do with the extra money? And was there like some sort of separation between income and like the extra money, like the entrepreneurial money? No, not really. Just put it all in one pot. Yes. So in the beginning, it was I just threw into savings, you know, because I didn't really know. I was like, I'm just going to save as much as possible. And then when I got to like $30,000, I was like, maybe I should buy a house. I was 25 and I looked around. I was like, I don't know about a house because who's mowing lawns? Even though I knew how to mow the lawn because my dad made me. Because he had only had girls. He had 5 girls. Yeah. He and my mom. And so, but I was like, I don't want to mow the lawn. So I bought a condo. Okay. But I bought it in 2006, which was we did not know about the crash. I did not know. And so I was like, ooh, I bought a condo for $220,000. I'll never forget. Where at? And in Franklin, New Jersey. Okay. So right outside of Rutgers. Okay. And I was feeling grown. I was like, look at me. I got my master's by then. And I had this $50,000 student loan debt for my master's. I got this condo for $220,000. And I said, now I want to invest. I'm ready now. We're not thinking about the $50,000 though, the student loan. So I think I was like paying it, you know, because it was the only debt I had. I didn't have credit card debt. I paid off in full every month. Yeah. And so it was really the only debt outside this new mortgage. Right. You know, so I was like, okay. You know how like some financial or like kind of Dave Ramsey-ish, he'll say, okay,
stay in your house, don't go outside, only turn on one light until you pay off this $50,000 student loan.
Well, I'll say that if you have very expensive debt, meaning like you've got a 22% credit card, then you might want to adhere to some of that.
Got it.
But a student loan, I don't remember my interest rate was 5-6%. I'm like, no.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So
so debt doesn't give you hives. It's just
it did when I had credit card debt.
Yeah.
So I was feeling good, and I said I want to learn how to invest. But why should I ask my dad who knows all the things? I'm going to ask my friend who looks rich. You live in Atlanta now, the land of the Lambos. He had himself a Lambo, a penthouse in New York. He was a scammer.
Was he? OG scammer.
I mean, the original. But he's in jail now, so hey, I don't even know you can see this in jail.
Oh my gosh.
So he told me, I said, I want to learn how to invest. He was like, you know what? First rule of investing, Tiffany, use other people's money. I was like, oh.
A scammer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I should have known he meant my money, but I didn't know. I was like, okay. He said, do you have credit cards? And I did, because I always used my credit card. My dad said pay it off every month in full, and I did. And he was like, you should open up another one and increase your limits, and you could pull money off. I was like, you could pull money off a credit card? I did not know this. So he had me pull off, I want to say $20,000 off the credit card.
So the first part was good. Get another credit card, start building out your credit.
Yes.
But then the red flags go.
I mean, who knew? I was colorblind. I pulled $20,000 off the credit. I should have known, because I remember distinctly. I was at Wells Fargo in Newark on Elizabeth Avenue. When I taught preschool, you used to have to wear like a nurse's uniform. So that way you could play and the kids won't mess up your clothes. So I'm in there. I probably look like 10 years old, asking for $20,000 off this credit card I just got. They were literally like, are you okay? They kept me there for 45 minutes, like quizzing me. I'm like, I'm fine. Nothing, no red flags, no blinking lights. And I just was like, why don't they just give me my money so I could be out? So eventually they were like, all right, well, she's an adult. Yeah. They gave me my money, and I gave it to him. And we had a contract I thought was so official.
To do what though?
So he was originally from... He was originally from Paris, France, and he said he had a bunch of like stores there, and so we were gonna purchase commodities here, like goods like Levi's, things were very American based, Converse and things, and then ship them in a barrel to his stores, and then he would sell them, because like French perfume is more expensive here. Yeah. American things are more expensive there, and I was like, okay, that sounds good. And so the first week it sounded great. He said, I purchased all the things, it's in a barrel, it's shipping to France. And my return on investment was supposed to be, which sounds so crazy now, $2,000 a week for 2 years. Off a $20,000 investment.
I
thought I was going to be rich. I was like, yo.
You too could have a Lambo.
I mean, I said, say less. So I believed it. I didn't tell anybody, because I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to be rich. I'll be able to save more. I wanted to retire my parents eventually. And I'm like, this is the beginning of like me making money moves. Of course, he promptly stole my money. But not even, I prefer a clean thief. Just steal my money and go. For months, he strung me along like, you didn't get the money? Check your bank account again. For months. I said, now I look back on it, I was like, it's a special hell. Wait for his, but he's in it now, because he's in jail. So, it wasn't until later that I met other people that he had scammed.
Wow.
And then he tried to scam the federal government, and they locked him up.
Got it.
He tried to create some fake passports and things. And this is like 9/11-ish time, and he's Muslim. So they was like, no, sir.
Oh, wow.
You're black and you're Muslim, and you're faking it. Like, yeah, so.
Under the jail.
Under the jail.
Goodness
I was like,
gracious.
if it doesn't come out in the wash, it comes out in the rinse, right? So, it might not have been me, but right. You got either way.
Okay, somebody in that, okay, it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
Sometimes it be true.
But the likelihood that it's going to happen to you is very unlikely. So I was like, because also too, here's the thing. If it was really good, I could have run about my dad. And he said, because I didn't tell him until years later, he would have been like, this doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
He would have been like, as somebody who's been in this space, like this doesn't make sense, you know? And so, but I didn't tell anybody, because I just thought that I was like, I was young, 25, 26. But then I made a dumber move. So $20,000 already gone. Now I have these credit cards. And I was like, I'm about to be rich, so what's to stop me from purchasing more things?
No way.
Because I wasn't done being...
All the stuff your dad taught
out
you.
The
you
window.
You're on the right path.
I was. Up until about 25, I was financially perfect. I had an 800 credit score. I had bought that condo, no debt, all the things. And then I was like, why should I have a good life? So
were you dating him?
No, it would have. That's what everybody thought too. I mean, he tried to date me, but I was just like, no, I'm here for the financial information.
Yeah, I want my money.
Yeah.
Gotcha, just give me money.
Yeah, so I was like, so I didn't use my credit cards as frivolously. I bought I mean, now everybody has the courses, these high-end courses, but I invested in one of those back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so because I was like, okay, money is coming in, and it was a course about basically how to invest, how to make your money more money, like what everybody's teaching now, but back then. And it was $15,000. No, it wasn't 15. Yeah, 15,000.
Oh, wow.
And I know, which I'm like.
Back then?
Back then, I know. I'm not even gonna say the name of the guru, but whatever. Because he's
Ty Lopez?
No.
He was the only one really back then. No. Well, he's the first one on YouTube going hard.
Yeah, no. So I purchased.
Did it work though?
No. So I purchased a course. So now I went from no credit card debt to $35,000 in credit card debt in a matter of like 3 days.
Wow.
But I mean, for months I felt good. I was like, because my money's coming.
Yeah.
And then it didn't. And I remember thinking, like, what am I going to do now? So what I did do, the good thing is I was like, okay, I have this credit card debt. I still have very good credit. I rolled it over to, I think I got like 2 years worth of like balance transfers, like to a 0% card. Yeah. So now whatever money you pay, Tiffany, there's no interest. God for good credit.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I was already setting up. I was like, okay, school's about to start up again because the summertime I wasn't working. I said, so you're a really good saver and budgeter. You just gonna have to live tight. You could pay this off, honestly, in 2 years. You just gonna have to live tight and just, you know, do what you gotta do. And I said, okay.
Dad's kicking in now.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, he was back. I know. And I was like, no, he was like, finally.
Welcome back, Dad.
Then 3 days before the new school year was supposed to start, they were like, ain't no more school. I was like, wait, what? I knew about the recession because my friends were all complaining, but I was like, not me though, because I'm a teacher. We're essential. Apparently not. Yeah, they closed our school, and I was like, but I need. What am I? I have a mortgage. I have all this debt. How am I going to pay my bills? And that was like the first time I actually got really scared.
Wow.
You know, and so I ended up. I called my older sister Karen, and I was like, what do I do? And she said, what's the worst case scenario? I said, I lose my house to foreclosure because I don't have any money.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, what do you do? What would you do if you lost your house to foreclosure? I said, I guess move back home. She's like, well, why don't you do that now? Why wait? I'm gonna tell Daddy. You know? And so like I brought a lamp home and a side table, then my mattress. He was like, what's all this? I was like, I'm home. And even then I didn't tell him. I just said, he knew I lost my job, but I didn't tell him about the scam until years later when I wrote about it in a book. And I was like, I need you to read chapter 10 before this comes out.
Oh my goodness.
And he was like, what? I'm like, it's fine now. He was like, you should have, Tiffany, I could have told you this. I'm like, I'm 30 something now. I understand. Yeah. So, but I'm so glad for that because it taught me, because I used to teach financial education from a place of like, I ain't made no mistakes. Yeah. Why you do that? And then I made all of the mistakes.
Yeah.
So then I got to teach from a place of compassion because I understand now like what it feels like to feel like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Everyone doesn't have a mom or dad to go like move back home at 29.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
And so it just gave me a lot of compassion for people and like, how do you dig your way out from when there's broke and then there's broke. Yeah. You know, like I don't have a dollar in my purse. Yeah. You know, people say they're broke, but they have some savings. Yeah. No, I drained my retirement account to try to save my condo, only to lose it. I wish I could have told Tiffany back then, you're going to lose it either way, sis, keep your money.
Man. But all the schools didn't shut down though, did they? No,
because it was a nonprofit based school. And so they got their money, their funding from corporate entities who are like, this is for looks and show. Like, we don't got it for these black babies. Sorry. And so that's why it was like a nonprofit based school and they lost their funding.
You didn't just get on your grind of like looking for another teacher
I did, job? But it was, you know, you have to think to yourself, in September, they're not starting school without teachers.
Yes.
So they're like, we have our teachers, we'll let you know. And so I was babysitting and tutoring things, but it just, you know, I was just kind of waiting for like a teacher to get pregnant and be on maternity leave or whatever, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like, and also too, if I'm being honest, I was really scared to go back to what I thought was safety and security. Because I'm actually risk adverse. People think that like, oh, I'm out here making these moves. No, I'm highly risk adverse. And for the first time, the thing I thought was super safe, which was like, you know, being a teacher, seemed like the riskiest thing in the world to me. Because I was like, if they could take that, then what else? And so I thought, well, if I can do my own thing, at least I will see it coming.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And so like, so to me, entrepreneurship actually felt safe in comparison to working for something that was deceptively safe.
I like it. You know, and that's interesting. So I would imagine the next parts of the story is you're leaning into entrepreneurship and I want to know how you got out of that. But there are a lot of people, I mean, it seems like entrepreneurship is the worst option right now. I need to get something safe and secure because I'm in pounds of debt. I don't know what to do. The only thing I know to do is to get a job. So I'm very interested in how you got out of this.
Well, the entrepreneurship, like I said, seemed the safest. At the time, thankfully, I was able to get unemployment. Since I moved back home with my parents, I rented out my condo. And even that...
Oh, so you didn't lose it?
Not at first.
Okay,
Jersey was slow. That's the one good thing about the Jersey bureaucracy. It was slow. But I made another mistake. Because I was just... For years, it was like, Tiffany, every mistake possible, we're just going to have you do it. I rented out to a friend who promptly did not pay me rent for like a year.
Oh, for a year?
Almost offered. I mean, he would pay late and sometimes. It was the most stressful. I was like, should I call them boys? I need to call
your friend.
Yes, I was like, maybe I don't even know nobody, but I was like, somebody has to remove him.
Yeah.
It was late. I should have known because he didn't have his deposit when he first moved in, and I let him move in anyway. I mean, every month was late. It was only by God's grace that the condo was, I was on the first floor of this 2-floor condo, and the people upstairs, their washing machine overflowed, and I guess they were on the vacation. And so it went to my condo and collapsed like part of the roof of the condo. But the blessing, because insurance took care of all that, but it meant he had to move out. He was like, temporarily. I put his stuff out so quickly. I was like, everything was on, because he wasn't gonna leave. Yeah. But because of that, he couldn't stay there. They're like, oh no, we have to fix it. The insurance company will put you up. And then when he came back, I was like, you don't live here. Click, click.
Wow.
And I was like, so.
First off, I want to read this book more now. And I'm going to have to read your first book, then your second book.
Yes.
Because now I trust you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You ain't just, if it was just your dad teaching you and you just financially lit your whole life, I would not trust you.
Every mistake possible.
I like this.
Yes.
I like this. Hey, so fix that mic too, because it keeps sliding down. I'm sorry. It's very ghetto production. It's okay. It looks better than it does. It is. All right. So what's the big idea? Because you lose your job and you start renting out the condo to someone that's not paying you, and
or late.
Yes, or late. And me and my cousin had an investment, and we rented out to my mom and my brother. I'll never do that again. I'll never rent it to somebody I'd feel uncomfortable kicking out.
Yes. And so I just told myself, so I was like, okay, Tiffany, at some point the lessons need to be learned. And so I just realized that you're going to lose this condo. Yeah. And so because after a while, I think I want to say my mortgage was $1,660. And when I was renting it, I finally got a decent tenant, but they were paying $1,200. So there was this $400 gap that I did not have. Yeah. And the mortgage company would not take the money. They were like, if you don't have the full, we don't want it. Yeah, for sure. I was like, well, I want it. And so I was living off of unemployment, and then that rent for like
the rent you wasn't paying the mortgage on. Good.
And so that was about 2 years, because Jersey was really slow in basically taking your home, because so many people were losing their homes during that time. So I was like, well, I'll just wait.
Just eat.
I mean, and so it was that time that I said, you have this like time to make the business make money. You know what I mean? So it was unemployment and that rent that I lived off of. And but I also lived really simply. I rented a room, $500 a month. It was a bunch of girlfriends and I.
After you left your parents.
After I left my parents.
You were in your parents' house.
For a year. And then I was like, I can't live here no more.
Yeah.
My parents are Nigerian, and the rules when I was 18 were the same rules when I was 30. 12 midnight, you must be in this house. It's 2 midnight. There's nothing in the streets.
But Dad, I'm 30.
I mean, because my sister at the time, the baby, she was in college. And so the same rules applied to her. He was like, both of you in the house. I was like, I can't live here. I love you. But so I was like, I'd rather live in a room. And so a friend of mine was like, she had rented this room because I grew up in Westfield. She was like, there's this beautiful historic home in Newark. It's like owned by this woman. And she's renting it room by room. Really, it was for college students. Yeah. But so many of us were broke during that time because it was the recession. So it was like 4 of my girlfriends. And then we each rented a room. And it was $500 a month, thank God. And it included everything. Nice. And I had like some beat up old car that barely could drive, so I walked mostly everywhere. I was the fittest I ever been. The fittest. And I just was like, okay. So I started using social media to share financial education, to see if people wanted to do one-on-ones. And I realized the one-on-one model was not sustainable because nobody had no money. Yeah. Because I would sit down with someone, typically a woman,
For how much?
I said it was between $100 and $150 to sit down for like an hour or two. And I was like, because I told myself I just need to make enough to $500 a month to make rent.
Yeah.
So I figured if I could do 4 or 5 these a month,
you're good.
Yeah, at least to start, And then we would sit down. I'd be like, girl, you ain't got no money. I'm doing your budget. Yeah. She crying, I'm a big old baby. The baby crying because I'm at your house. We all upset. And I was like, just go ahead. She's like, I gotta give you something. I'm like, a plate of food, And so I was like, that's not sustainable.
Right.
And then I said, okay. Then I started reaching out to different organizations to see if I could teach for them. The United Way said, okay.
Good. Good. Okay.
So I went from one-to-one to one to what I call one to few. United Way was like 10 people in my class. That same hour that I spent with the woman that was, paid me $150, the United Way is paying me $500. Nice. I said, okay, one to few, 500, same hour.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I realized, okay, there's a one to many available. When one of my friends, his brother won like class president of like Keene University, the college he went to. And we were like celebrating him or whatever. And he was like, my first order of business is to line up some speakers. Yeah. And I was like, oh, speaker, I never thought about that. I was like, how much do speakers get paid? He was like, oh, we have a budget about $1,500. I was like, I speak.
Run it.
I speak.
Gracious.
And I was like, so that same hour, one to one, $150, one to few, $500 for that same hour, one to many, $1,500.
For the same hour. That
same hour. Then, my mind was like, hold up. So if I can get even more, like then I remember I got my first like $5,000 gig. And then $10,000 gig. And now my keynote is $100,000 and the people pay it. Not a lot of people, but the people pay it.
Your keynote's $100,000?
But then I really thought to myself, what about one to infinite? And that's when I started my online school, the Literature Academy.
Hold on. You were getting, okay. First off, what type of people book you for the $100,000?
It's only a handful. You have to think to yourself, these multi-international, I don't want to say names, like, so just think like, the biggest companies that you know. So for example, I haven't gotten money from Amazon, but like it would be like a company that size. Because to them, they're like, okay, so, Did the whole Netflix thing help with that? Absolutely. It helped too. Netflix is when I raised it to it because I was 50 before Netflix. But I said, yesterday's price is what? Not today's price. I said, you see me on Netflix. Right. My book is a New York Times bestseller. Play with somebody else. So like the thing is though, when you get to that level, there might be only like 6 or 7 companies, but that's okay because I'd rather 6 companies with 100 than 100 companies with 10. Yeah. So you just know that not everybody has it, but everybody doesn't have to have it. Yeah. I got a little 5-figure gig coming up. No, that's good. I mean, not when you say 100. No, but and you've been at 50 for a long time. Yeah, so. I was at 50 for a while. Yeah, I'm behind. Yeah. No, but you you have to do something like in business. You have to do the thing that I call illustrate your Oprah, because illustrate your Oprah. Your Oprah. Ooh, right. So look at you settling there. You about to get a picture on this wall. I am. I was looking out here. I said, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on here. So hey Oprah, I see her right here over here. So illustrate your Oprah is this. When I first started out, people would not let me speak for free. I said, do I stink? Because like I'd love to come because I would try to do volunteer work so that way I could practice. Like Chris Rock will go to like a local comedy club to practice his gig before he hits Netflix. So I was like, okay, let me practice on these smaller places. Yeah. I'll speak for free. They're like, nah, we good. I'm like, for free? Wow. And I was like, and I remember being so pissed that somebody wouldn't, they didn't have the $150 or whatever I asked them for, something cheap that I asked them for to speak. And I was like, I bet you if I was Oprah, they pay me. And a light bulb went on. It was like, yeah, if you were Oprah, they would pay you. So it's you. You mad at that, but you're not Oprah. You need to illustrate your Oprah. And I was like, how do I do that? How do I illustrate such overwhelming value that someone thinks they're lucky to get me for 1,000, 10,000, whatever? Because if Oprah said to us right now, hey, hey, David, you and Tiffany, I'm doing over. If you both put together $200,000 in the next 24 hours, I will come and sit with you, open up my Rolodex, give you all my access, whatever. We'll get together that $200,000 so quick. Yeah. Because we see the value that Oprah brings. We know that $200,000 is $20 million potentially in the back end. Right. So I said, how do I illustrate my value so clearly that someone feels blessed to have paid me? And so that's when I started to use social media in such a way like, so. What year is this? This is, I want to say social media started to really pop 2015, 16, for me. And so I started to like post every single day, post a tip of the day. Anytime I spoke, I would post like, just finished speaking at JetBlue, had such a great time. I got the money shot, which is what I call the shot where you're like, it's a selfie with the people behind you and everybody's all excited. Yeah. And so people were like, because what people saw is you're already out here doing it. People want to get on the waiting train.
I need that shot, guys.
Always. Or like a view from the stage. So people are like, oh, David speaks, I can hire him to speak. You see what I mean? It's because I noticed this, that when I spoke at a church and I would post it, churches would hit me up. And I said, And when I spoke at a women's event and I posted it, women's events would hit me up. And I thought, oh, I'm telling people what to hire me for. Like once that light bulb went on, it's like what you post is what you attract, That's when I used to tell like my I have a bunch of mentees. And so when I tell my young boy mentees, when they're like, oh, this girl's out for me for my money, I'm like, well, when you fish with gold, you're going to get goldfish.
That's a fact.
So you out here, with your chain or your this or your that.
Oh my God.
That's what you're going to attract because that's what you're fishing with, right? So you mad because she want gold now. Bruh, pull your line up and fish with books, right? So it's the same thing in your business. Whatever you're wanting to get hired for or whatever, then that's what you have to put out there. I can make someone believe that I'm a purple alien from Mars if that's all I post.
Yeah.
So whatever, you can literally craft what you want people to believe about you. People can think that you have kids, don't have kids. They could think you live in Orlando, live in Florida. You decide. No one knows you except for like, the people in your real life, but you can craft whatever you want for social. And so for me, I was like, I'm going to be an expert. I want to be an expert that is in high demand.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was speaking for free all the time. And my only ask is, can I say my clients? And they said, yes. So happy, spoke at my client today, JetBlue. So happy, spoke. People are like, oh, she got clients. I want to be a client.
She out here with clients.
And so that's how the business started to really grow. And I started to illustrate my Oprah.
I like
and that's got to start to book and book and book. And you have to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, like I practice speaking like a lot. People get up there and they're dry as toast. You're like, come on.
Yeah.
Why should somebody pay you? Like I'm an excellent speaker. Teaching helped with that, obviously. But I also practice, And like literally I would get off stage and I had a little notebook where I would write down the things that went well. Like they laughed at this, they really liked that.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to each time get better. So I'll give you an example. There was this big, if I said the name, organization, this big multi-conglomerate. I told them my rate and they were like, we're not going to pay that. Like, basically, they didn't think
When was this?
This was during the pandemic? It was like tail end of pandemic.
Gotcha. What was the rate at that point?
It had gotten to, at the time I was at like 75 or something like that, And so we told them 75. They're like, we're not going to pay that. And I said, you are. Right? So I was like, okay. So I saw the name of the woman that they had. I knew she wasn't the decision maker, but I saw her name. I said, that's a black woman. So I told my admin, I said, I need you to call up Keisha, who sent this email. But like, and I said, I need you to say, hey, Keisha, how are you, girl? So I don't know if you know about Tiffany, New York Times bestseller, NAACP award nominee, Netflix, And it's a shame as a black woman that she still
black woman
has to, she
like
still has to ask, because I know for a fact that speakers get more than this, that her rates are not astronomical. She has spoken here and here and here and here. And, I just hope that you reconsider. She said, Keisha got fired up, was like, you are right. I know, Keisha.
Come on, Keisha.
Keisha went back and was like, I done told the people. And Keisha got back and she got me.
I love that.
And then I slayed because I was like, now you can't get your money now and get on there and be dry as toast. I slayed. Don't you know that the head of the department emailed and called to apologize to me?
Oh my gosh.
He said, everyone was so impressed that you were more than worth what you asked for. And we want to apologize. So that part is important too. Not just getting your money, but being worthy of the money that you're getting.
Yeah. And I feel like, so look, Zell, push that back and then I'm sorry, this mic, because you charge $100,000 and I feel like we can at least get your mic right. She's gonna be on stage like, so I went to go do this podcast. They don't know who they had in the room because my mic kept falling. Okay, you're really, really good at it.
Yes.
And I think you've done a really, really good job of branding yourself around this one topic of money.
I call the tree business versus the bush business. This is what I teach. So I mentor on the side.
Hold on 1 second. Unscrew this and then pull it back. Yes, back. Keep going. Keep back a little bit. Yep, back a little bit. Yep, there you go. Good. Now tighten it. Good. Okay. I'll turn it up a little more. No. Closer this way. There we go. And then this part, put it on top like that, because this is the weight that holds it from sliding.
Okay. Let's tilt this like this. Okay.
Yeah. And make this part as tight as possible. And no, this part right here. So. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, we should be good.
Okay.
No more problems. And make sure we maybe it's like let's stop and start, and so that he can edit that out. Okay. All right. We'll just notate the time for Kashif. Okay. Good. All right. Cool. All right. Great. I think we're good now.
So I also mentor. Actually, I just in Atlanta last night. I took out my mentees. We went to Virgil's, and I have this thing called mymentortiffany.com. I use Patreon, and so we've got about 4,000 mentees. You know, that's another
4,000 mentees in Patreon, which is different than
yes. I'm good at subscriptions now, as you can.
Come on, subscriptions.
I mean,
let's go.
See, I just low key. I know, I like to just be in the cut, just making my money, enjoying my life. I like to be rich at Target. That's what I like to say. But no, so we have about 4,000 mentees. They pay anywhere from $10 to $20 a month. And so like I teach a class to them once a month, like a live class. They also the key with communities and the key with subscriptions, you have to build a community around the subscription because people come for you, but they stay for each other. Write that down.
No, I was actually calculating. You said 20 times 4,000.
And some people pay annually. Multiply that times 12 months. Cute. A cute coin.
I like what's going on.
He's my bestie now, right?
I like what's happening right now. Yes. Goodness gracious. Okay.
Yes, keep going. So my mentees, I love working with them. And so one of the things I teach them is a tree business versus a bush business.
Tree business versus a bush business. Okay.
Yeah. So a bush business is, so this is a bush, right? So think about like your local corner store. They sell chicken, change, tech cashing, they DVD, but the problem with the bush business is that you sprout so quickly, these branches are very weak and you never get the opportunity to really grow.
Yeah.
So that's what most young or new entrepreneurs do. I do everything for everybody. You got a bush business.
Yeah.
A tree business takes more patience. So you have one solid tree trunk. I am the budgetnista. So for the first 5-6 years, that's all I did was teach budgeting. You build trust, you build admiration, care, community, all around that one core thing. And now I can branch off into, I do mentorship.
Yeah.
I do books. I have a podcast. You see what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So now I can, so think about Nike. When Nike first came out, they literally just made running sneakers for runners. Now you can buy Nike rackets, Nike water, Nike hat, because they understood I am a tree business, because from that trunk, you can branch out and do damn near anything.
Yeah.
I could do apparel if I wanted to. I wrote a children's book that did really well, but I couldn't have done that if I would have sprouted too quickly. But people, especially new people in entrepreneurship and young people, because social media has y'all all messed up thinking you got to make $1 million your first 30 seconds in, that they think to themselves that I got to do all this now. It's instead of having the patience, here's the thing. I don't want to be here just for a good time. I want to be here for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to grow generational wealth. And so there's two ways in business that I think you either, you have a business that has this I'm in it for a long time and it will continue to make money. And even when I sit down one day, I have things that will continue to make money that I don't have to show up for, and low key, if I didn't want to work anymore now, I wouldn't have to, or if you are going to have a flash in the pan business, understand that's what it is, that you're going to get your money in the 2 or 3 years. You're going to live off very little of it and then invest that money and then live off the interest. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you have to, because some people have a flash in the pan business, but they don't know that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you made $20 million your first year? See you next year.
Right. After the pandemic.
Right. Exactly. Pandemic had people feeling real good. They're like, this is what I do. I'm like, 1 year does not make a business.
For sure.
And then they live to that fullness of what the business made. And so many people are out of business now.
Yeah, 100%.
But for me,
taking them Lambos back.
I mean, when the pandemic hit, if I tell you how much money we put up and saved, I knew. I said, oh, no.
You knew.
Because I said this is the way pendulums swing. A pendulum is that thing that you see that goes back and forth. When something goes too far left, it doesn't just all of a sudden go back to the middle. It has to go all the way right before it settles back in the middle. So I said, all this money we made the most amount of money. We had our first 2 8-figure years during the pandemic. I said, this ain't usual. I was like, it's about to come back the other way. So I put up nearly a year's worth of savings to see us through the rough times. And guess what? This year was a rough time. Yeah. I'm being all the way candid. You know, it was not an easy year in business. We made less than ever before, but I had, for both of my companies, I had money put up. I was like, all right. You know, we never missed payroll. We never, because I knew that was going to eventually come. Like, you have to understand that your spring and fall time, if you think of yourself as a squirrel, right? If your spring and fall time, when you're collecting all those acorns, it's not just for spring and fall and summer. Yeah. It's for winter too. Yeah. So if you eat up all your acorns in the spring, winter comes for everybody. Yeah. What you gonna eat? You know, so I'm always setting aside for winter. And we had a business winter this year, but I was like, okay.
What would you attribute the business winter to?
Change.
Is it just, it was kind of like a big difference between, okay, our spending habits now, and we're like, oh, it's like shock value. Oh, we got to chill for a second.
A mix of things. One, the market's a little bit flooded. You know, everybody got a course. Everybody's a business guru. I'm like, okay.
Just so you can trust me, okay, I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2012. And we've had we have a morning meetup group that we've been doing since 2017. So I understand entrepreneurship. And right now you are, like you're saying, seeing a whole bunch of people that you made some money in 2020. You came out of course in 2021. You started doing lifestyle marketing. And then you do a podcast run. Now you like look like you know something, but you can't trust a coach that's only been through the summer.
Yeah, because also too, here's the thing. Like, I was not coaching in business until basically this is like my first full year, 15 years in. Because what am I talking about?
For sure.
I have made all the mistakes I have made. You know, so I'm coaching from a place of, if your business coach's only business is the coaching,
100%.
It's like that's my homeboy in jail right now. Right. You know what I mean? And not to shade, I know some business coaches are like, I'm just like, whatever.
I've said it a few times, and it's so interesting because I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends, and I was telling my community, I'll never really outpace my my regular business. With like the money that you're paying me, only because I'm like, we still got to be out in the field to tell people. It's only because mine's around entrepreneurship. Yes. So yours around finances. And I think the whole world needs that. Yeah. But for me to even feel like I'm doing a service, I have to feel like I'm going to go get new information every day from the field, not just you paying me to tell you something.
Because like, truthfully, like I'm running several businesses. So when I coach my mentees, I'm like, you know, the mentee business really is not the business for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I started off at $10 a month just because I was like, let's just see. Yeah. This is fun. I already had mentees already, but I thought, because people kept asking every day, and I said, well, what if I had a platform super easy to use where I can mentor, but it doesn't feel overwhelming, you know? Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then it made a cute coin. I was like, okay, I like doing this. Yeah. But that's not my business. Is I have my podcast, which is a business, a 6-figure business. I had a marketing business before. I closed it down like a year ago, which is a multi-6-figure business.
Ooh, what was that?
I had a business partner before, and we used to, when certain brands came to us and want us to market in this particular way, we would do it through this business. Oh,
so you reach out to other people to help you market?
Well, it was like, sometimes it was almost like they wanted us, like, let's just, I'm just making up a financial brand, like a credit brand, you know, and they wanted me to market their credit tool or whatever. The Budgetnista is a business of like books, speaking, whatever. So it wasn't a marketing company. So we created this marketing company to do that work, you know? I got you. So I had that business, but I closed that down. That was a multi-6-figure annual business. The Budgetnista, multi-7-figure year business. Well, this year different, but typically. And then my online school, that was the 8-figure a year business. So now I can come to you and say, I know what broke looks like. I know what beginning looks like. I know what launching looks like. I know what books, you know, we could talk books. We could talk podcasts. We could talk subscription. We could talk speaking. We could talk spokesperson. Like, you know what I mean? So I have this well-rounded like experience of like, you know, and also it wasn't fast. You know, so I'm not, because some of these businesses, they don't even realize that they're not as good as they think because it happens so fast. Yeah. You don't know if you're good or bad until you have a rough year.
100%.
And you're like, oh, This is business.
100%.
Yeah. So this year was a rough year. We're still well into the black, but it was a rough year for us.
Yeah.
But I knew already. I was like, it's about to be a rough year. I could tell. I could take the temperature because people are buying differently. One, a recession is basically here. If not here, it's coming. People are shifting. Inflation has been crazy. People don't have money like they used to. And also, too, the market has been flooded. There has been all these publicized scams. So people are more
hesitant.
More hesitant. Yeah. So I saw the writing on the wall. And so for me, something I teach my mentees all the time, what I call the pre-pivot. You don't have to be in it to pivot. Like I like to look 5 years ahead of time and say, let's start the pivot now.
Yes.
Because when everyone else is scrambling, we're wrapping up our plans. And so and that's what we've been doing. Like the pivot that I'm making in Budgetnista. And I'm not telling y'all because we be doing stuff over here and I'm like, Dad, can I breathe? The girls be watching with their notebooks out. I'm like, can I make some corn in this space before? So the new pivot is an amazing pivot, and I'll tell you about it 5 years from now.
But what I can almost bet is that it's still around financial literacy.
Okay.
No? Is that not the core?
It's part of it. Not really. I mean,
kind of.
It's a really great pivot that no one else is doing in this space. But that's what we do. I'm almost always a thought leader, if I'm being honest. People might not know. So for example, like, you remember when everyone's name was like on all their schools, everybody called their school like Academy?
Yes.
Right? When I started the Literature Academy like 7-8 years ago, I chose the name Academy because it sounded weird. Because everybody was like course or this and that. The only academy I really could think of was like, these government, like, like if you were in a boot camp or I specifically chose that because it wasn't used. And so it seems like, well, everybody's academy. No, they weren't. I promise you, because we do our market research. We did a year of market research about what to name our online school to make it stand out. And so I picked, it was like university, college, all these other names, and we decided on Literature Academy. And it's so funny to see everyone's name, and they just take it for granted, like, oh yeah, we just call it Academy. I'm like, do you? And like, or like financial educator, right? That's a term that I created because I was like, there was no financial educator. It took me a year to come up with that term. I said, what can I call myself? I don't want to be a money coach. I don't want to be. So I did about a year's worth of research to be like, okay, but Tiffany, you used to be a teacher, teaching finance, financial educator.
Yeah.
I love it. Now everyone's a financial educator, but that term did not exist. And so the people would tell you that's not true. Okay. But no, because so I'm careful now about the things that we share that we're moving into.
Yeah.
Because I know that like there are people who move faster than I do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me.
I got you. Okay, we will see.
Yes, yes.
I went through a very traumatic season of my life.
Okay.
And I honestly have not recovered since. Okay. So it was the passing of my mom. Okay. And it just, I don't know. I'm still kind of in it. It's almost like the world is just hazy, right? I'm sorry?
How long ago did she pass?
2020.
Okay.
Well, the end of 2021. And it's been, it was just, I haven't been right since. And it didn't affect my business. Only because it happened in the height of like pandemic stuff, so it was okay. But you had a loss, and how did it affect you?
Well, so I lost my husband suddenly. He had an aneurysm.
What year was this?
2021, the end of November 2021. And it wasn't like, sometimes people have cancer or they're sick, and I don't know what's better or worse. I don't even know that there is such a thing. But his was really sudden. He literally called me and was like, babe, I have a terrible headache. I'm going to go to the emergency room. I said, okay, I'll meet you there. And, the doctors were like, okay, because he had an aneurysm before. But, surgery, it's a lot, but I was like, okay, if that's what's happening, we've been through this, it's hard, but it's manageable. And the doctors were like, because usually with the aneurysm is like, you think about a vein like a balloon. And there's a soft spot in the balloon. If you keep blowing the balloon, that soft spot in that balloon that will pop.
Gotcha.
And so an aneurysm is that soft spot in your vein, blood rushes through your vein, it will pop. And typically, if that pops, you die very quickly.
Oh, no.
And so an aneurysm is when the bubble just exists. And so, but if you could catch it ahead of time, for the most part, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so that's what I thought of. The doctors were like, the fact that you're speaking, it hasn't burst, you're going to be fine. And so He was here on Monday, not here on Thursday. And in the moment, I remember when I was in the hospital with him, realizing that he wasn't going to make it. I remember thinking, like, what's really important here, Tiffany? Because I worked a lot. You know, you don't make that kind of money. You know, you don't work a lot. And I just remember thinking, like, the only thing I kept thinking was, like, I wish I had more time to love him while he was physically here. And I wish I had more time to connect with him while he was physically here. And I just remember thinking, like, then those are the only two things.
Yeah.
And so he was the king of it's enough. He was just a regular dude, worked for housing, Newark Housing Authority, a super, made regular dude money. You know, we all have this conversation
Regular
about
dude money.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, everybody's talking about, oh, I want my 6-figure. I mean, my husband never made over 60,000. I mean,
wow.
you know, I mean, like, I make more than that in a month.
Yeah.
You know, but just like I met him when I was a preschool teacher, and he was the maintenance man of the building. So we knew each other in our 20s, you know?
Wow.
And so, but just a good man, you know, like looked after everybody. He called my parents more than I did, you know, like was like cut my nephew's hair, looked after my sister, just a good man. So when I hear women have that debate, I mean, I get it. You have to decide what's right for you. But I'm saying for me, like I didn't necessarily need a man that made a ton of money because I always knew I was going to make a ton of money. You know, that I wanted somebody, there's a few things I need in my partner. Someone who is intrinsically kind, meaning you're kind because you're kind, not because it's me.
Yeah.
Because when I get on your nerves, how you gonna be?
Yeah.
So he was kind to everyone. Like when he passed away, neighbors who I never met, because I'm not that friend. Neighbors who I never met were knocking on the door, and they were like, "I heard that the guy who lives here passed away." And I was like, "Who are you?" Like, I live up the street. He used to rake my lawn, little old lady. He used to he used to bring but that was him. He was like the Black Mr. Rogers.
Wow.
And so intrinsically kind, someone who put in effort. And so he always, like, if you were to look at our text, we had a really good marriage. Like, no, actually great. So when we first got together, it was good, but he was really good at communicating. I wasn't.
What year did y'all get married?
We got married 2017, but we had been dating off and on since like our 20s. And so he was a really good communicator. And so I grew up in an African household. You don't talk. You just, you either get yelled at or you just be quiet.
Yeah.
So he taught me how to communicate. Like, what's really wrong?
Wow.
No, like, speak. Like, you're an adult, what's really wrong? So because of that, we set like rules for our marriage, like rules of engagement. We like, in the beginning, it was like, how do you want to argue? When we get, you know, like, so I was like, well, I grew up.
Wow. How do you want to argue?
Yep. So I was
question.
I grew up with yelling. I don't want yelling. He said, okay. You know? And I was like, I know, you used to be out here in these streets, but I don't want cussing. He was like, okay, you know? And so, meanwhile, I was the yeller. He was like, people think that it would be me. He was 6'6", he was like, it's you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my tone. So, right? And so we had this thing where when arguments went from helpful to hurtful, we had a safe word. It was pineapples. So let's just say we're like, and then pineapple. Whoever said it, that means everything got to cease, split. Because you'd be like, what? Because you're about to dig in good. You're like, I'm about to win this argument. He'd be like, pineapples. And you're like, because you're like, you want to say one more thing? He's like, we don't respect the pineapples? I'm like, I'll be downstairs. But it was the best thing because I would always visualize, and we would visualize together that we were in the same jersey. So why am I fighting with my teammate? I know in this moment I want to win, but what? Against my teammate with the same jersey on?
Wow.
And so so we had things like that just made our marriage from good to great to really amazing. Yeah. And so it was just a really great man because he was just a good man. And so that effort part is the third thing that I look for. And then the last thing is I have to be able to feel like I could be myself because I could be a little bossy. I can work a lot. I could be the chatterbox, but I want to be able to show up fully as myself and not feel like I can't be me. Yeah. And so with him, I was able to do all of that. And so his loss was so great, not just to me, but to like his friends, our neighbors, our family. But he was the king of it's enough. Because I was like, oh, babe, when I make this, we're going to move to this bigger house. He was like, well, our house now is enough. It's paid off. Yeah. We bought it cash. It was a foreclosure. We renovated it to our liking. And he was like, the house is enough. And then we're going to get this car it's enough. Yeah. So he has I have a bonus daughter. She just turned 17 a couple of days ago. And so he would always be like, you good, baby girl's good, I'm good. That was his thing. Like, that's what life was for him. If you're good and she's good, I'm good. But I couldn't see that. I was like, there's more to be had. I can make more money in business. I can. So when he passed away, I was like, it's enough. Yeah. It's enough. To what end, Tiffany? Man. Because how much more money? if you don't work another day in your life will literally not change. I just bought a condo. I paid for it cash. You know, I'm giving my sister my house so she can stay there with her 2 kids.
Wow.
You know, I just told her cover the carrying costs, which is like, minimal, just the because there's no mortgage. So just the, the bill, the light bill, electric bill, water bill, and the taxes, which is like less than half of what she's paying now. So it allowed to set herself up for financial like security, and they get this beautiful house. Yeah. You know, I bought a condo down the street, and I paid for it cash. They're renovating it now, and to me, I'm creating a life of enough. I like that. If this year would have freaked me out a few years ago about not making as much as what we normally make, but I'm like, and even still, you lived off of like what 20% of what you made. Like how much more? Like I'm not. You're not gonna see me. Like people typically run into me at Marshall's. For real, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, so what more else do you need? Yeah. So now I've created a life for myself where I call it the perfect day. And it's things like going outside, movement outside. I love to walk. I walk like an hour or 2 every single day.
Oh, wow.
Every morning. It's hearing someone say I love you and saying I love you. It's spending time with people that I love with on the phone. Like I love to like call my family and friends who and it's eating good food that's also good for me. These are things I have listed on my perfect day. And if I could check off most of these things, I'm like, you had a perfect day. But none of these things are attached to money. Yeah. Because I get it. If you're broke, it's going to be hard to hear this because because it's true. Yeah, until 100%. You get to a place of like being able to take care of yourself, then, you're not going to be able to hear this. But there is a moment where it's actually enough and you can overshoot your shot. And then the law of depreciating returns comes into play, which is that anything in its excess, even a good thing, will become a bad thing. Yeah. 1 cup of water, great. 8 cups of water, great. 800 cups of water, you're drowning yourself on the inside. Even water can become toxic if too much of it. So ambition at excess, no family, no friends, money in excess. Can you can't touch reality. You know what I mean? I met a woman who sold her business for $1.2 billion. I was at a conference, this authors conference, and she told me it took her 8 years to build up the business. And she said, she worked 100 hours a week on average, her and her husband. And I mean, that's the pinnacle, right? We all want to, and I asked her, because I could see in her that there was something underlying. And I said, would you say that it was worth it? She said, no.
Oh my goodness.
I said, I have sold your business.
1.2 billion.
Cash, not stock options, because she had such a solid business, they bought it cash. Of course, she had some investors. She didn't get the full 1.2, but hundreds of millions. I said, was it worth it? She quickly said, no. Now I was like, she said, there are things with my health and my life that I can never get back. Because do you need 600, 700 million? 100 million could have been enough. Maybe year 4 would have been, you know what I mean? Like that would have been, because like, what are we really asking here, And so so now when that life experience, like one, I don't work nearly as hard. Like, I'm just like, no, I'm not doing all that. Yeah. I'm just not. I'm like, so like I had to reduce my team dramatically, because I was just like, I can't carry, pay for everyone, Yeah. And now when like the space, like, like I have my new book, Made Whole, like this, like, I've never really taught from a place of like how you get rich. For me, it's just, I want you to design your life, and then I want you to match the money to the life, not your life to the money. Design the life,
then match how much money it needs to live that life.
Yes. So for example, my life, if I'm being candid, because I don't have any debt. I own 2 properties. I just actually sold my 3rd one. My husband had a twin brother, and he really wanted to be a homeowner. And I was like, Terrell, like I could sell you like the house because Terrell was going to he was going to retire in a couple of years from housing. You work 25 years at a state job and a city job. You take your insurance with you. So he was going to get into like real estate. Because I was like, well, babe, you already are running a 300 unit property. Why not we could just buy properties and just do that, And so we bought our first one.
Ambitious Tiffany coming.
Yeah, you see? I was like, and he was like, okay, because then he was like, well, what am I going to do by 45? Yeah. Like I want to make money on my own. And so, but I didn't want to be a landlord. So I told Terrell, do you want to buy this property? And he said, yeah, I've been looking. And I know that was a dream for for Terrell to have property. And Newark is like hot right now. Like, properties are going from 50 to 100,000 over asking in Newark. Because New York is too expensive. Jersey City, forget about it. Hackensack, forget about it. All these surrounding areas. So Newark has been like, It's been crazy.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, you were born and raised in Newark. You get to own a piece of it as you ought to.
Yeah.
And where my property was, they're building Lionsgate. It's building a studio.
Ooh.
So I was like, you're welcome. And they also, too, they're building another train station directly to New York City.
Oh, nice.
So I said, you're triple welcome.
Oh, good.
So I was like, I'm going to sell you the house at market value. I know if I put it on the market, it will shoot up, but because the house is paid off, I bought it for $10,000 from the city. It was a lien, and then I put 130 or something into it. And I sold it for about $275, whatever. So I made
nice.
But I put all that money, that full $275, into the college fund for Alyssa. So I was like, you ain't got to worry about school.
Nice.
Nice. But that's what the money is for.
Yes.
Me, And so I don't have any debt. I own my home straight out. So my life cost me less than 6 figures a year. Because what am I paying for?
Yeah.
Lights, water, clothes from Marshalls. Because also too, even some of those things are Budgetnista. Like if I'm buying like a whatever, for a gala or whatever, why am I paying for that? That's what she paid for. Even my car. Like, no, I don't really drive for, like, no. Like the gas, because I'm a speaker. Yeah. That's what she paid for.
For sure.
Yeah, like a lot of my travel or whatever, either the Budgetnista pays for the travel, if it's business, or I use like my Amex. At one point I had like 1.2 million points. I just got back from Europe with Alyssa for her 16th birthday. We went to London, Paris, the Amalfi Coast on points.
On points.
Go business crazy. Class, laid down. She was like, I said, yeah. You don't have no real money, so you just don't get too used to this. But you know what I mean? So meaning like my life, I'm still that preschool teacher, Tiffany, that threshold. My life, I live well below my means, but still live well.
Yeah. So
that way, whether I make $2 million take home, whether I make $200,000 take home, my life is not different. I'm able to look after my parents. I retired them. I paid off their house, maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. Because I wanted my mom not to work anymore. And they had taken out a second mortgage to send the last child to college. And I was like, well, how much is on him? They said $120,000. I said, hold please. I spoke to Jarrell. I was like, I would love to be out their house. He was like, I wish his mom passed away in his 20s. I wish my mom was still alive so we could do that. Let's do it. My dad couldn't believe it. He was like, are you sure? I was like, Daddy, you planted the seeds. Because I was kind of the wild one of all the sisters. Yeah. He was like, wow, I never thought it would be you. So
incredible.
Right? But think about this. Like my mom is a nurse. I retired her about a year and a half, 2 years before the pandemic. A nurse.
Wow.
She would have been in the thick of things.
100%.
And my dad is in his 80s. Yeah. At the time, late 70s. Yeah. So to be a nurse and then to bring back, what is that even? That's what the money is. That's what the money is for.
Which makes sense on the book, Made Whole.
Yes.
Is it, what percentage you think is about finances?
All of it. So Made Whole, so when I wrote, it's the workbook version or the companion copy to Get Good with Money. Okay. So there are these 10 components of financial wholeness.
You're aging backwards because you look younger on that picture.
These pictures saying to take it on the same day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world? Hold on. So when did you do this book?
So that book came out in 2021. 2021, right? Early 2021.
Oh, you just picked out of the list of pictures?
So because they don't do Black people all that great when it comes to your covers. So I was like, no. I have a photographer, a sister. Right. I want her to take my picture. Gotcha. So this is all the same day. So this was potentially a cover shot for this. It's just I put my hair. Oh. All the same day. You see, same earring, yeah. Okay. So I have a bunch of photos from that day. Yeah. And so when I was doing the companion book, I was like, well, let's pick a photo from that day that I'm,
That's dope.
So this is all 2021 when these pictures were taken. But so when I wrote Get Good with Money.
Hold on real quick, because I have this question in my head and I don't even know if I should ask it.
Ask.
But I've never had a chance to, I never had someone in your position that I can ask this question to.
Okay.
So you lost your husband in 2021 and it's 2 years later. And I was thinking about Lauren London. Yeah. And I was like, man, you lost Nipsey.
Yeah.
Do you ever, when is it okay or safe to date again?
I don't know. I have a therapist. She's awesome. Thank God. Yeah. And so I guess it depends on you. You know? Of course, when you first lose your person, you're like, I'm never. That's what I thought. I just, I'm just going basically I felt like I'm just going to wait this life out. You know, because I really believe that somehow you meet your loved ones again, you know, like on the other side. Because I watched a lot of near-death experience videos. This is like what gave me peace. I watched a lot of near-death experience videos because I wanted to see what happens. I mean, I consider myself Christian, you know, but you say that until some real shit happens. No, for real. You know, you're like, oh, okay, oh, heaven, oh. Because death is the most common, uncommon thing. Because you know that people die, but not your people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know you felt like you're like, wait.
You give everybody else condolences.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Then it's you. You're like,
100%.
Wait, not my person.
Yeah.
And so I watched a lot of near-death experience videos because I wanted to know, like, what happens on the other side? Does it just go black, you know? And so many people pass away, like for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, on the operating table, and then were brought back to life. And the story is always the same. Yeah. This overwhelming feeling of love. Oftentimes their loved ones who passed away come to get them. And I thought to myself, okay, so there's something on the other side where this person potentially is still in spirit there. Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll just wait until I could join him. I'll just wait this thing out. I don't even care. You know, that's what it feels like. Yeah. And then like I remember that at the time I wanted to like choke my therapist out. Sorry, Dr. Green. Because she was like, I said, because I kept saying, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. This is the worst thing. And one day she said, is it the worst thing? I was like, do you want to die today? Yes, it is the worst thing. And then earlier this year, I went to Kenya with this women's group and I was speaking. And they took us to do some like charity work. And it was a safe house for young teenage moms that were either pregnant or they had a baby who had been thrown away by their families because they gotten pregnant. And so many of them raped by their own family members, even fathers. And these girls were there with nothing, giving birth to like their children as a result of rape from their parent or father. And it was for the first time that I heard Dr. Green's voice. Is it? You know what I mean? And it was like the first time I realized that like there was life beyond this loss. You know, like I didn't lose everything. Yeah. My parents are here, my sisters are here, my nieces are here, my nephews are here. I have my health. So for the first time, it was like, it took till this year, you know, like a year and a half after him passing, that I kind of was like, there is life outside of this loss, that it is a terrible thing, but it is not the worst thing. Yeah. It's not like a bomb was dropped and everybody's been annihilated except for you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's hard to like, with grief, especially if you're just starting out with like the process, it's hard to manage that feeling of like, I'm grieving and I'm so sad, but there's also life to be had. Yeah. And it's just, the grief, the hole actually doesn't get smaller. You just learn to like live around it. You know what I mean? Like 100%. I don't miss him any less. And so as far as dating and things like that, I just said like, well, I guess we'll see. Because here's the thing, I had an excellent marriage. Yeah. So, and I was just talking to a friend of mine about this the other day, because he was complaining that one of his friends, one of his girlfriends, not girlfriend, but a girl whose friend that like, she seems so desperate to get married that she's just like every guy she's dating, she's putting the pressure on him. Yeah. And I said, because this country tells women who are not married, something is wrong with you. Yeah. You could be a lawyer, a doctor, cured cancer. That's great. Where's your husband? Where's your husband? And then they tell you, so all these women like having these comments, oh, I want a man, a six-figure man. Oh, she's a gold digger, she's a gold digger. But then you bring the maintenance man who's making 60. This my man. Oh, man. So wait.
Man, you guys are in a tough spot.
I mean, goodness. So if I choose what you told me, like, you know, like I had a regular dude, 60,000, loved him so much. You think everybody was happy for me? No. Oh, not sure. Yes. Happily so. Treated me well. Home was amazing, kind, great communication. But it wasn't, my parents weren't the happiest. He didn't have a college degree. I have two. My dad has two. They were like, okay, I guess. You know, they came around and began to really love him, you know, like, because he was such a great guy. But it wasn't like, yay, we're so happy that Tiffany is with a blue collar worker. Nobody was like, there was no confetti for that. Man. But then if I say I'm holding out for a six-figure, it's, oh, wow, that's what you care about the most. So what's a woman to do? So thankfully, I am in a unique spot as a widow, is that I get the benefits of being a married woman with the freedom of being a single woman. So meaning that like, because I was married, it was like, people take it off the table like, oh, you weren't chosen, which is so stupid. Yeah. But no one, I don't have that pressure of like, ooh, girl, you about to, you know, you're 43, you about to, you know, it's like, oh, no, she was already married. She's not one of them. which is so terrible, you know? But I have this freedom that if I do decide to date, that like I can do so, but there's no pressure for me.
Yeah.
I don't have to get married. I don't have to like, oh, I got to push out a baby. I have my stepdaughter, I got my nieces, my nephew. So I'm in this unique spot where like, if I do decide to date again, I don't know if I'll ever get married again. I mean, I guess you never know. There's no rush for me because there's no finish line of like, because for women who want to give birth to their own children, there is a time constraint, you know, but I don't have to adhere to any of those rules.
Yeah.
So I'm not in a rush for anything. Because also too, I had something excellent. So what I look like settling for what? You know, like I already had somebody. So if I never get anybody else again, I will have more than most.
Yeah. 100%.
And I didn't realize that until so many women hit me up when I was like, what am I going to do now? They're like, I hope you know that I've been married 20 years and I didn't have what you had.
Come on.
You know?
Oh my gosh. I hope so many women, especially in this day and age, hear this conversation.
Yes. So I don't entertain the whole, you know, should you date the bus driver, whatever. I'm just here to say that whatever kind of like checklist that you have for like what you want in your mate is valid as long as it's coming from you.
Yeah.
Like, is the world telling you he better be a lawyer? He better be 6-something. He better be, or is that how you really feel? And someone asked me, I don't even know anymore. Exactly.
Yeah.
Taking that time to say, what do I actually need in a partner?
Yeah.
Because I had my whole checklist too. A doctor, because I'm all. And then I thought to myself, and I wasn't finding all of that. Or you'd find somebody like that. And, you know, like, I mean, you know, prior to Jarrell, I've been out with men who, you know, make multiple 6 figures and sometimes even 7. You know what they are? On their phone all the time. You know, and the truth is when me battles. As the 6-figure, 7-figure earner, that was me too. I was that man. Hold real quick.
I was that man.
Because for real, because how you think this money is made?
Right.
I'm not, you know, ain't no chilling champions.
Right.
Like I'm busy. I'm working morning, noon, and night. And, you know, and so I'm like, so I saw Ian from the Master Investor. He said this thing which I thought, you know, I don't think how many women fully get it. He was like, some of you are wanting these like high 6-figure, 7-figure men, but you're not really understanding the level of peace that you know how to need to bring for someone like that. Because the level of stress, and I'm saying that from a woman who was in that position.
Talk about it.
My husband provided so much peace at home. I can't imagine working all those hours and coming home to, it's like, so it's like, so you're wanting that, but there is a level of peace that you have to bring because the world is crazy in that space. And so now that my husband's not here, I'm not willing to engage in that world anymore. Yeah. Because I'm like, if I'm not going to have this like level of peace at home from my partner, then I cannot tolerate what it looks like to have an 8-figure. No, y'all can keep it. I have enough money. I've made enough.
This is so good.
You know what I mean? So but people don't want to hear all that.
They have to. They need to.
Yeah. So I'm like I said, I'm not here to say you should pick whatever or you should settle or whatever. Settling is choosing somebody based upon what somebody else has decided for you.
Yes.
So if you're like, no, I absolutely need somebody who makes 6 figures because of whatever, then have that, sis, as long as that's what you're deciding.
100%.
You know, not because your mom said, your line sisters or whatever. Like, it's really what you're needing. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I want for women is to like really get who they need, because I look at like, you know, I don't know, because I knew Jarrell so early on. Yeah. I wonder if, like, I think to myself, I wonder if Tiffany, when she was successful, would I have given him a chance, you know? I don't know. Because it was different because I knew him then, you know? So I got to really know him, but would I have gotten a chance to really know him? I don't know. Yeah. You know, I would hope I would. But knowing that I had that, I understand now, like, for me, if I decide to date and partner or whatever again, that's what I'm looking for. Like, I do have some rules about earning, in that you should make enough for me to cover your own expenses and your responsibilities as an adult, every adult in the situation. Yeah. You know, like, so if that's $60,000 for you, you cover your expenses and responsibilities. Okay. If you need 150, okay. If 40 covers your responsibilities. So to me, because if 2 adults can cover their own responsibilities financially, then together life is easier financially. For sure. So that's like my only financial threshold. Yeah. Whatever you make, can you take care of yourself?
Do you get a lot of couples that come to you and asking for help? I guess you don't do a lot of one-on-one stuff, huh?
No, not as much, but I get a lot of like men who are like, you need to talk to my wife. So people slide into DMs. Men slide into my DMs to be like, you need to talk to my girlfriend. Right. Not to say, hey, boo, but to be like, you come. My lady loves you. can you tell her? Because when I tell her, it's but all of a sudden she's like, the Budgetnista said. I'm like, all right, tell her the Budgetnista said, screenshot this. Hey. So he was like, it worked. What else?
What? Okay, so married couple versus serious dating couple. Is there different advice?
Obviously, yes. Okay. So if you're a married couple, your money is already intertwined.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, meaning, so legally, the government is like, I don't care about none of that. Y'all married. So like certain things that happen to you are going to connect to your wife, whether you like it or not. You know, so your money is intertwined in ways that even if you have separate bank accounts, separate whatever, you know, like you're married. So there's some things that are just like intertwined. Maybe you own a home together, especially if you have children. Right. That's a legal and financial connection. You know, even if you're not together later on down the line, both of you are going to be responsible for financially raising the child. So for what I like is ours, and I like to have household stuff together and then like separate things. So for Jarrell and I, it was, we both had our separate checking accounts for spending. So you can do whatever you want. You know, like if you have some new Jordans, I'm not like, let me get new Jordans. You know, because that's how it used to be. Like when we didn't have much.
Another pair.
I was like, oh, wow, okay. Right. And then, so, but that checking allowed us to do that and be like, no. That was from that separate checking. And then we had a joint checking for bills. Yes. And household expenses. Okay. So that was like, you know, the water bill, the light bill, the whatever, you know, whatever. So I knew if he had some new Jordans, it didn't come from the bills account. So why am I tripping?
Right. But you would still check that bills account just to make sure.
Right. In the beginning, I did. I was like, oh, okay. Because, you know, you dip it in there every once in a while, you know. But, and also too, what we learned to do too is even anything household, gas for the car, like even date night. So that way it didn't feel like, I mean, everything, if it was a household, we had a separate debit card, you know, so it was just like, this
so date night was the joint account.
Yes, okay. Everything was a joint, anything that had anything to do with the household. And then, because I wanted that your personal money, you could do whatever you wanted with it, you know? And then we had savings like that too. We had a savings account that was our personal savings. And then we had a joint savings account. And then investment account. We had a joint investment account together, a brokerage account, and then we had separate like retirement accounts. So I like that. And so one of the things I really loved about Jarrell, that even though he didn't make a ton of money, he was like, I want to, because when I moved in with him, I was 34, and I was like, the business was just starting to take off a little bit. But not a ton. I think it was making like 6 figures, but you know, that's gross. So my take home was like 50 or 60,000, you know, I was making basically what he was making, you know? So I moved in with him, and he was like, he was already paying his bills. So I was like, well, I can go half. He was like, no. Oh. I know. So I was building the Budgetnista, not having to really worry about bills. Our rent wasn't crazy. It was like $920, but still, you know, that's why he knew how to live under his means before I met him. And so started building the Budgetnista, you know, started to really do well in business. And then we started to we got married, and he was like, you know, I really would love to, I want to be a homeowner before I'm 40. Yeah. And I said, okay, so let's start to look. And I had that foreclosure. And so even though I made a lot of money, I couldn't be on the mortgage. They were like, girl. Sure. So he wasn't making a lot. So the places we were looking at, I said, between my foreclosure and your income, it's not looking cute. We're going to have to live in a hole in the ground. And I'm like, so what do we do? And then this foreclosure came up for $180,000. And I said, well, because his thing was, however we live, Tiffany, I should be able to support us in case you want to do your business anymore. That was really important to him.
I like that.
He's like, I've been paying the bills. And I was like,
talk about a good man.
I know.
And there's some clowns out here. I ain't gonna lie to you.
And so I was like, okay.
I know them all.
So I was like, so what do we do? So I was like, you know what? We could buy this house. I said, because he was largely, most of his money outside of like the money he got for savings, investing, and spending went into the bills account. And very little of my money went into the bills account. Most of the money I was making went into our savings and investment account.
Got it.
So it was like, you pay bills, I save and invest for us. And so I was like, well, you know, babe, we have money in our saving and investment account. He was like, we do? He like never looked. And I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, but the house is 180. I'm like, yeah, it would be just about, but he said, we got 180,000. I was like, yes. So we bought the house.
Nice.
And then we renovated it. And so what that meant was, now, like our rent was $920, but now we don't have to pay rent anymore. and our mortgage was 0, but our taxes now were like $700. So we had a house costing less money. So he was still able to pay the bills.
Love it.
Because there was no mortgage to incur. You see what I mean?
Love it.
And so once we realized, I'm like, oh, that's a good plan. So I was like, you know, he wanted to get a car. And so I don't believe in buying new cars, it's a waste of money. So I like a car 1 year, 2 years old, like max, certified pre-owned, you know?
Gotcha.
And so I was like, okay, so let's get you a certified. He wanted like, he loves himself a Cadillac. He was like an old man. I want me a Caddy, a Lincoln. I'm like, all right, 80-year-old pops. So he got like a Lincoln, whatever car it was, but it was 2 years old, and we paid for it cash from the savings. And so the insurance and everything else, because he already had a car before, he was able to maintain our life. So our life cost us low enough. So we got the house, the cars, the thing, but it cost us low enough that his income could afford us, you know, but we could do it in such a way that like, because we took from the savings, you know what I mean? Like it just was like such a great, because it wasn't easy. I remember him saying, I feel bad because, you know, you make so much. How do I navigate? But honestly, I was like, well, one, there are other financial things you bring to the table. Because he worked for the city, he got state insurance. And if you know anything about, I mean, you can get acupuncture for free.
Jeez.
And so he and I were trying to have a baby, and we did IVF for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was almost $300,000 worth of, and every time I went to the doctor, it was $10.
Oh, wow.
I remember the first time I got my big box of IVF medication that they send you at home. The bottom, the bill said $80,000 worth of medication in this box, and it said your payment $0.
Oh my goodness.
So I showed him. I was like, "This."
You just brought it.
I mean, yeah. You see what I mean?
Right.
And so I mean, so I just share that like there are ways with your partner when there is an income imbalance. If you're wanting, you know, you certainly don't have to navigate what that looks like. So our life, he was able to pay our bills, and I was still able to get the things that I wanted because we would navigate. Like you do day to day when something big pops up, our savings or investments take care of that. You see what I mean?
But you didn't feel the need to show him all your business financials and stuff.
No, we did. I mean, there was nothing. When Jarrell passed away, there was not a password, not a whatever. There wasn't anything that he didn't. I mean, he knew how much. He barely literally looked, but we talked about it. We talked about everything. He was like my best friend. It wasn't. I never once felt, like I said, I met him when I was still teaching preschool. So he wasn't here for the money. You know what I mean? And so like, no, he knew like how much I made in business. And I think he couldn't really wrap his mind around because Jarrell, he grew up, his dad wasn't around as a kid. His mom raised him and his sister and his twin. You know, they grew up in like, you know, housing project. And so even though I would remind him sometimes, I'm like, you know, we're millionaires, right? And he'd be like, what? Because he was just like, meanwhile, putting on his housing uniform, like, anyway, I'm going to see you for dinner. Can I have? So, you know, he was just a regular dude. So even though he knew conceptually, because the last 3 years we started working with a financial advisor because I was making so much money that I didn't know what to do with it. So I'm like, let's work with somebody who can help us like really navigate this wealth that we're creating. And so she would show us like our net worth, and he'd be like, no, that's crazy because I still got to go to work. You know, because I asked him, I'm like, do you want to not work anymore? He was like, that doesn't really make sense. And a few years I retired, then we get to take our insurance with us. And that's one good insurance when you're older. That's so expensive. So that was the plan. It was like, this is perfect. We don't have to pay insurance in our old age because you get state insurance for the rest of your life. You know, by then, hopefully, because our plan was to get like an apartment building that he could lightly, because if you could do 300 units, you could do 10. Yeah, for sure. You know, and then you can make whatever your money is. You know, you'll probably make more doing that, chilling. So that we had this plan, you know, and so.
So what would be the difference between that and
seriously dating?
Seriously dating.
So seriously dating, I don't believe in blending money, but you should, at seriously dating, you should be talking about money and making blended money plans. Meaning, like, so when we were seriously dating, we didn't have any blended accounts. But if we were going to go on vacation, whatever, I would have a savings plan for him and me. I'm like, all right, go to the job and tell them to put this amount of money into your savings account every pay period. And then I'm going to put this amount of money. So when we go on vacation, you know, like you have your money saved and I have my money saved. So we have blended money plans, but not intermingled funds.
That makes sense. And you don't recommend that because
you're
married, right?
Yeah, well, also too, because when you're married, like I said, there's some legal things that you like that, you know, like let's just say Jarrell and I would have gotten divorced. You know, I mean, although we did have a prenup because I believed in that, you know. I remember he was like a prenup, like on the movies.
Hold on, but when y'all got married, you wasn't.
No, I was 37. I was officially a millionaire by the time I got married.
I got you.
By then, the business was like.
How's the conversation?
At first, he was like the movies. I was like, babe, He was like, oh, what do I get to put in there? I'm like, because he thought a prenup was like, I'm like, you watch too many movies. I'm like, but he was like, but I don't want any money from you. And I'm like, it wasn't really about that. I wanted that, like, if something were to happen, I didn't want the people that work for me to have to be held up. Yeah. Like, so our prenup was really simple. It was what I came in with, my businesses, whatever, belonged to me. What you came in belonged to you. What we built together is 50-50. So we were building certain things together, like the real estate, 50-50. You know what I mean? So it's like, so it was just like, but it's just for me, I wanted the businesses not to be tied up legally if something were to happen, and so it was like a really simple, he was like, okay.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't like, I get everything. It was like, no, these things are ours. The house is ours. These things are ours. But these businesses right here, I started them before we got together. So I don't want to lose them if something would happen.
So no blended accounts while you're dating. Y'all got blended accounts? Y'all got a blended situation? Yes or no, Noah? Do you have a blended account? Yeah.
No, we don't. We have a blended.
And that's not so bad, but just think about if something, because I've had this happen. A friend of mine had blended accounts with her boyfriend. They were living together and everything. She found out that he cheated, confronted him. She said, I'm going to see when I get home. He said, you won't see me.
Order some money.
Went right to the bank, drained it dry, and dipped. I said, girl, first of all, everybody knows you got to keep that hush. You got to be here. You're supposed to have.
Right. You got to take the money first, girl.
And so that is the reason, if living together is different, because not everybody plans on getting married, And so just being mindful. I don't say you shouldn't at all. Just being mindful that this person can, I've had too many people know that their person has run off with all the money. Yeah. So if you are going to have something blended, have money, so if you have a blended savings, have money that if they were to, it doesn't affect your whole life. She had everything all together. So let's just say they had just one blended saving, but she had her own savings, own checking, then it's he ran off with $1,000, but I could still pay rent. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just being mindful. Yeah.
Yeah, Tiffany, we're going to have to do another episode and just talk about money.
Yeah.
This was a roller coaster of information. I've enjoyed it so much. I learned about money. Definitely learned about emotional intelligence. I learned about, for one, running a business, multiple businesses. And like you said, some people aren't going to understand the conversation of enough until they get it.
Yeah.
And you always hear the people that are successful, it's not all about the money.
Yeah.
And a person who doesn't have it, hasn't experienced it, they're like, I don't understand that.
Yeah. And that's okay.
But pretty much everyone that I've ever met that got to that level understands, wow, there's more important things. But y'all aren't going to understand until it goes.
And also, too, I just think that as you build success, you should also be building, you should just be asking yourself, how do I actually want life to go? Yeah. Do you want time, space?
I like your relationship checklist, too. And your checklist of having a good day.
That perfect day.
That is incredible.
Because even if I had a quote-unquote rough day on the surface, I look every night before I go to sleep. Did you get movement outside? Oh, yeah, I did walk 2 hours today. Did you see something beautiful? Oh, that leaf I saw was so beautiful. Did you tell someone you love them? I did. Did someone tell you they loved you? Yes, my mom told me that. Did I eat something that was good and good for me? Yes, I did do that. So all of a sudden, you're because a perfect day is about the things that you did that brought goodness to you. Mm-hmm. You're not a slave to the thing versus my business did this. You know what I mean? It's internally, it's working from the inside out, not the outside in. And it helps you to really put into perspective what it looks like to live a good life, Mm-hmm. And so certainly I know I have money now, blah, 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 blah. And certainly I want that for people. That's why I wrote Made Whole, honestly. Because I said to myself, do you have to be a millionaire in order to live a good life?
No.
And I don't think so. And so I was like, can I write a book that walks you through these 10 core components, which is budgeting, savings, debt, credit, learning to earn, investing for both wealth and retirement. So it's not going to be inside there.
Okay.
Investing for both wealth and retirement, insurance, net worth, your financial team, and estate planning. These 10 core things. If you can master these 10 core things, you don't have to make, $300,000 a year. You don't have to make $1 million. You don't have to do it.
And that's Get Good with Money.
That's Get Good with Money and Made Whole. Remember, that's the companion book to Made Whole.
Yes, got it. Okay.
And so so I wrote Get Good with Money. It's like a textbook. And so many people said, I want something to work inside. I want you to work alongside me step by step by step. So that's like the fake book. Remember I told you, like, you have to cut this part out. So like
that's all good.
Yeah, like
my audience is okay. By the time this drops, this is official.
Yeah, so they're like, they put the book cover on the book and they're like, it ain't here yet, you know? But yeah, so I was like, can I create a step-by-step plan? The teacher in me is like, how do I create a step-by-step series of lessons that walks you through with homework, with guidance, walks you through creating that plan for yourself. Yeah. So you can do what we're talking about, not have to feel like you have to make $1 million to come on back to realize I don't need all that. You know what I mean?
Clear explanations of the language of money.
Yes.
Simplify deep dives into topics like budgeting, earning more, investing, credit. Okay, so how are you teaching people how to earn more? Because most people that teach you on a budget, they're just teaching you how to budget.
I know, that's not enough. So to me, if you don't have enough money at the end of the month, you either have a don't make enough issue or spend too much issue.
Yeah.
And most budgeting people focus on the spend too much issue. Mm-hmm. But I find that most people typically have a don't make enough issue.
Yeah.
So first place that you look to make extra money that I talk about in the book is like, ask for a raise at that job. Mm-hmm. You know, like, so.
Just ask for a raise.
Well, first, before you do that, don't, you know, the Budgetnista said, right? So creating what my sister calls a Go Me file. Go Me. So anytime she does something for the company she works at, she literally has a folder where she's like, Go Me, I did this thing that either made or saved the company money, time, something quantifiable. So by the time you have your quarterly or annual or 6-month review, I'm not actually asking for a raise. We're asking for a correction to my salary.
Okay, I got nervous because I felt like they was all about to ask me for some extra
Yeah, I know.
money.
People hate when they do.
But I like how you said something that saves us money or makes money. I have no problem.
Yes, because, and honestly, I mean, my it's funny because my employees, they'll have used a book. They're like, so here's my Go Me file. But remember when you're asking for a raise to be mindful of not only like the work that you bring to the table, but also the size of the company. Like, is there space for that? I mean, like, it's one thing you're working for Amazon. Like, you know, like, it's another thing you're working for a small business, you know? So we do transparency in my company. So every 2 weeks we post the numbers. So you see exactly how much we've made in these 2 weeks, how much we made for the month, and how much it costs to run the company. So when you ask me for a raise, first thing I do is say, which is like, 'cause this was a rough year. I had a lot of raise askers this year.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hear you and I think you're excellent. I think you're great, but let's scroll into Slack and look to see, like, see that number? Negative. So I would love to, but don't they? You know, but you know what happened as a result of that? They started bringing in money. I said, I'll pay you more, but I can't be the only one dancing for $1. That's what I call being an influencer and stuff like that. I don't consider myself just an influencer because I have books and things, but it's dancing for $1. If it's me dancing for $1, I'm tired.
For sure.
I said, my left knee hurt, so I can't dance like I used to.
Yeah.
When I tell you, after having those conversations, the contracts they've been bringing in, you know, I'm like, yeah. So, you know, I believe in empowering people. And so now we can have the conversation of like, okay, based upon the money you're bringing in, based upon what the company's doing, this is what I can do based upon our side. But you have to remind people when they come to you, like, you know, Jeff Bezos was a CEO and so am I. Where's my Jeff Bezos money? Because people are like, well, I am the CMO of the company, so I should be making. I'm like, you compare me to IBM? Like, we ain't the same thing. Because if that's I want their salary too.
For sure.
It's like what you do, but also the size of company and the revenue of that company. You know, but if you have honest conversations with people, then people are not mad. They're like, I understand. It's only when you're like, yeah, we're making $100 million and I'm paying you $2. That's not right.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then you deserve to be like, you know, for people to leave. But I mean, it's been 15 years. We've had such an amazing group of people that have worked for me. You know, like we have like, even I call my team the Unicorn Squad because they make magic happen every day. If I tell you some of the deals are just like, oh, I just locked this deal, $30,000. This just happened like a few days ago. I was like, oh, awesome. You're trying to get that ready, you know?
You put that on your list.
Yes, exactly. And I know that's coming, and that's, you know, that's good though, you know?
100%.
Yeah, and so like, I believe in transparency and leadership. You know, I believe in fairness. I believe that like, I can't be the only one winning. You know, we all have to win. And I also believe that leaders eat last.
Yeah.
Good leaders. So there have been times when I'm like, I did not get a salary for a couple of years from this business. You know, I just waited on my owner's draw. Yeah. Which is what meant what everybody else got paid the taxes, put aside for savings. If there's money left over, then I get to draw. 100%. If there's not, I don't get nothing this month.
Man,
you know?
people see it from the outside looking in. You just run the business and you just got a bunch of money. I'm like I asked, we buy snacks for just to have snacks here. I was like, okay, how much we been spending on snacks lately? Mm-hmm. That is a question. Let you know. Hold on. So hey, we need to tighten up a little bit. It ain't just sweet all the time.
Yes, you know it's not, because there's times and also too, you have to tighten up sometimes. Yeah. But that's why. But having those open conversations. So I'm like, we need to make this amount of money to make the business run. Yeah. And for the last 3 months, we have not made it, and we're living off of savings. And just so you know, we've down from 6 months to 3 months. So let's do math about how long we're going to last. You know what I mean? I need everybody like all hands on deck. Yeah. You know, or what we going to do, you know? Because here's the thing. I have set aside enough where like, I don't got to work no more, you know, but I want to make sure everybody's provided for. But this is a team effort. Yeah. And so when you put it like that, you know, a lot of people are afraid to have those hard conversations. It is hard to have those conversations, but it's either that or one day you just say, business closed tomorrow. Right. Coming, the locks change. Yeah. And honestly, if you have cultivated a really good team, which I have, people step all the way up. Yeah. They get creative. You know, I want everybody to think like a CEO. Yeah. You know, like I'm not the only one carrying these burdens. Yeah. You know, like what can we do? Right. You know, and when I tell you they have stepped all the way up, I mean, Q4 is back half heavy. Love it. You know, and I was like, all I had to do was light that fire. Love it. Yeah, I've been feeling real budgetnista lately. And I've been really promoting this Acorn app. Okay. Use Acorn? I do actually use Acorn. And I did it not for the $5 referral fee, but I've been really, really promoting because I've been using it for years. And it was interesting. Kay said, I don't know if I want to use another one because I'll forget. And I was like, that's the idea. I forgot I had the app going. So I have a certain amount of money that goes out of my account every single day. I do the roundup. And I just forget about it because I wouldn't see that money anyway. And it's been a true blessing to me. So are there you use Acorn yourself. What setup do you have? I have I do the roundup, but then I also I call my play money. Because now that I have a CFP, a certified financial planner, I give her the lump sum to put into my, we decide what we're going to put in my brokerage account. Oh, nice. We Charles Schwab, that's where, so that's where the bulk of my money. But there, Acorns is where she's like, I mean, if you want to keep it there, that's fine. So I'm like that. I was using Robinhood for a little bit when everybody's playing around with stocks. So to me, that's play money to just see. But for the money that I want to, so there's something called the 4% rule. I go over it in Made Whole, where it's you set aside enough money that you can live off 4% of the money. And you'll never really run out of principal. So let's just say you put up $100,000. 4% of $100,000 is $4,000 a year. So if you can grow your money to $100,000, you can generate, because typically the market is going to yield about 10% annually. That's what they'll tell you. Over the last 100 years, the market has yielded about 10%. So some years -30, some years +40, but 10% over the long stretch. So if you only pull 4%, it leaves you very safe not to take more than what's needed from your initial investment. Right. So if you could put up $1 million, or not just save, but grow to. So, over time, you put 100,000, 200,000, and you grow and you invest and it grows to $1 million. By the time you're ready to retire, the 4% rule says that you can take out $40,000 a year. Got it. So you see what I mean? $2 million, $80,000 a year. Yeah. So, so you kind of do the math for yourself, I'd like to live off of $200,000 a year. You're looking at $5 million. You don't have to save $5 million, but you have to grow to that, Got it, because the $10 eventually turns to 11. Yes, exactly. So it's not you're not saving to that, So you're growing to that basically. But that 4% rule is it allows you to not have to worry about money for the rest of your life, and then you never spend that initial 5 million, 1 million, 100,000, whatever you have put up, because you're only ever pulling 4%. So that's the play. Yeah, that's the ultimate play. I met a gentleman the other day. He has, maybe $50 million worth of real estate or whatever, and he was he's his late 40s, early 50s. He's next couple of years, I'm about to 3 years, I'm selling it all, putting the money up and living off that 4% rule. So you figure, I don't know what 4% of 50 million is, hundreds of thousands of dollars where he could just literally brush his teeth, wake up and not do anything. That does set a goal. Yes. It gives us a goal to reach for. Yeah. And so that's what I teach you in Made Whole. It's from the basics, how to budget, how to save, how to manage your debt, how to get your credit to where you need to get it to, how to earn, right? And then from there, that's the foundational things. Then how do you invest for both retirement and wealth? Those are two different types of investing. Retirement is look around at your life now.
Yeah.
You'll be able to maintain your current life.
Kate just asked me about retirement account. I don't got it.
Oh, you mean for your employees or just you?
No, just me personally. And I was thinking, like I buy real estate. Shouts out to female real estate guru. I do a lot of real estate stuff with her, but I never really like thought about it or even trusted the whole.
You should, only because the real estate. So for me too, like I'm not a real estate investor.
Yeah.
Like I'm someone who I'm like, okay, I have 2 properties now. They're both paid off. I paid $180 for one. It's now worth $500,000. Okay, that's a cute little bank.
That's lit.
I just bought one that was $500,000, but honestly, it's such a beautiful property. Within 5 to 10 years, like I could see it getting to $800,000 or more, just the way Newark is going. You know, so, but I don't consider myself a real estate investor. Just if I see a property, it makes sense, then I would purchase. You know, same thing with the one I sold to Terrell.
Yeah.
I bought it for $10,000, put $130 into it, sold it for almost $300,000.
Gotcha.
You know, but
so, tell me about the retirement.
So you're wanting only because you don't have to, because what you're doing obviously is probably working if you have real estate, but I like to have multiple ways just in case, because what if when you're 80, that is the year that, you know, the housing prices crash for 5 years.
Got you.
So I like to have like, okay, I have some real estate, you know, but then I also have this retirement account, this brokerage account where my money is invested into different funds, and I have individual stocks, some of them that I've, you know, purchased. So that way I hedge my bets and then I also have my business.
Got it.
So I might sell my business one day, but I have the الله school. I have a CEO, so I don't have to. So the business is also like an investment vehicle. So it's like businesses, homes, investment accounts. Yeah. So it's like by the time I get ready to, you know, retire, whatever, then between one of y'all gonna be together. You know, so that I like that kind of like. So just consider that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, here's the thing. I like one of the things I wrote, especially what made whole separate from Get Good with Money, is that when I wrote it, the estate planning chapter, you know, like you talk about it, but you don't really think about it. And when Jarrell passed away, he was 41, and literally a week before, my financial advisor was like, Tiffany, you guys need to finish your will. Yeah, and we did it. This is so young. You're like, oh, later. You know.
Did you have insurance?
Yes, thank God. That's one thing. Even before me, he left a good chunk. Like the job had like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of insurance. He had private insurance worth $100,000. Like baby girl, college for free, a home when I love it. She's good. This is what I love is that at $60,000 a year. You understand what I mean? Like I know people think like
get your priorities together.
You know what I mean? But and what I love is that like he was on insurance before I even met him. Really, like he was like he had a daughter. Was like I want to make sure she's provided for. Yeah. And if something should happen to me. And so right when she was 5 years old, he got that insurance policy, you know, for her. And then of course the job provided like a really good insurance policy as well. And as a result, you know what I mean? Like, and I remember distinctly him being on the phone with his friends, like, bro, get that insurance policy. You just had a baby. Like he was advocating for that. And thank God for that, you know, because when your insurance policy is to protect your assets, but also to look after the people who are your dependents when you're no longer here. So although her father is not here, financially, he is still here.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
I love it.
In a way, so he's still providing long, you know, like she will be living off of not to have student loans and to have a home. I told her like I told her one or two things. If she wants to go to school, school's paid for. Yeah. And then by her sophomore year, we can look for a condo or a small house that I will pay for cash with the money that her dad left her. And then so you have little raggedy friends pay you rent. So you don't got to work even. And so then when you graduate, because my name is going to be on that, then because you know you're still young,
of course.
And then when you graduate and you show some sense, I will take my name off. It'll just be you by yourself, and now that is your home to sell, to rent, to live in, and you don't have a mortgage.
Love it.
That's a setup for a young black girl. Yeah. So like, I mean, people don't have that. I didn't have that setup, but that's why like this, like especially the chapter about estate planning is so important, because I talk about the importance once you start to grow, especially when you get a certain amount of money, to have a financial advisor, because it's not, the financial advisor, David, is not just there to say, here's where you put your money so you can invest. It's bigger than that. Yeah. They are there, that's why it's made whole, to create a holistic plan. Are you fully insured? Like before we met Anjali, our financial advisor, all his beneficiaries was like Alyssa's mom. And so when, like that would have been a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, I mean, I'm good either way, but it's like, okay, like, hey, girl, and I love Shantae, she cool, but also too, she was like, you also are underinsured, get some more insurance. So we did. With Aliche, she read through every, because he worked for the city and he had a state pension. So she knew all the pension paperwork. I mean, she gave me a list of things and she was like, I didn't know this, but as soon as he passed away, she had like a list of 20 things that I needed to do. And she would just teaspoon, like, I need you to try to do this week. Like, there's Social Security that's coming to Alyssa. Reach out to her mom and say she needs to apply ASAP. I know you're all grieving, but there is no retroactive pay with Social Security. If you wait 6 months to a year because you're grieving and you don't fill out the paperwork, you don't get that back pay. You get it as soon as you start. So, like, me and her mother have always been like cool, even better now, and so I reached out to her right away. I was like, what do you need? Because I was his wife, but that's her mother. So we had to work together. Like, I had to show proof of this and that, So it was a lot, but she was able to start because he provided for her financially along with her mother. So it was like that financial support. Social Security doesn't stop until she graduates high school this year. And so that was important.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? But I wouldn't have known that without an Aliche. And with Aliche,
Text me your number.
She's just amazing. And also too, the truth is like I built I have a trust now. Because my financial situation is more complicated than his. If I'm not here, I have businesses, I have homes, and so it would leave a lot like of money that potentially my dependents or my heirs will have to like navigate and pay taxes on. But you can circumvent some of that by putting all of your assets into a trust and then having those people in the trust already. So when I pass one day, they won't be inheriting anything because the trust already owns everything.
Gotcha.
So it helps to like that transfer tax that you normally have to pay, might not, it likely won't affect like in California, for example, it's like 50% or something like that. Basically, can you imagine? So that's why people end up selling the house because you get a house for $1 million, but then the tax for you for inheriting it as a daughter is $300,000. Something crazy. So then you're like, wait, I don't have $300,000. I just have this $1 million house. Now I have to sell this house just to take care of the tax bill. So I made sure of my trust that I have money set aside for the taxes, and then but then all of my properties are inside the trust.
This is good.
You know what I mean? So these are the types of things that that we were thinking about, but I'm like, no, we need to get them done ASAP. And with Made Whole, I dive deeper into that because I wrote it after he had passed away. So the estate planning part, but also to be bigger than that, it's like take pictures of like your family and friends. Like he was like a secret vlogger. He had like all these videos on his phone. Yes, because his mother passed away in his 20s. He said, I didn't have video of her. So I used to always think, I'm like, oh, here you go again. He'd be like, say something to him. I'm like, something, but he would just be recording like regular everyday mundane things. And like, to like look back at all those videos, I'm so grateful because he understood that nothing is permanent because his mom passed when he was young. And so I have all these videos of him laughing, joking,
so good,
chilling. And like, I tell people that all the time, like take as much video. So what I did was when people came to visit him in the hospital, so many people, hundreds, people were like, who, is this the mayor? Because so many people that he had helped came to visit him in the hospital.
Wow.
And I took their phones and I said, I have a Google photo album. And if it's okay with you, I can tag his face in your phone, in your photos, and it will add it to the photo album.
Oh, wow.
So now we have like 5,000 videos.
Incredible.
Pictures. So that we could all, at any moment, I can hear him say, I love you. I can hear him laugh. I can hear him say my name, like at any moment. And people don't have that, you know what I mean? So that's bigger than the money.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and also like, where are your things? If something were to happen to you, like, does your partner, do your kids know? Like I bought a fireproof, waterproof bag from Amazon to put a copy of all of my bank statements, all my everything. Aliche is my person. So if something were to happen, you're not scrambling to figure out that. I mean, it seems so simple, but like, thankfully, Jarrell always used my computer, so all his logins were already in there. So there wasn't a login I didn't have, and at least one other person should have like your cell phone number, your cell phone lock, because like your cell phone and your email are the keys to unlock everything.
Yeah.
Because even if I couldn't log into like his ADP account for work or whatever, 'cause I needed something from it, I could say reset, and it would send it to his email. Yeah. So keep on keeping on that phone for a year.
Yeah.
After, because that's gonna be your key to unlock, it's just,
So much information.
So much, you know what I mean? But this is why, like, I teach from the place that I teach now. You know, I feel like sometimes I'm like, okay, God, you don't got to give me all the lessons. But, you know, so when I wrote Made Whole, I really was teaching from a place of like, holistically, how do I get you to live this really great life using these 10 core, like, financial steps that will get you there. You don't have to make a ton of money, but to have a really great life and leave something, and so people won't be so stressed. Like, I'm fortunate that I know people who lost their husband in their house.
Yeah.
You know, I just get to misdirect.
Yeah.
Because grieving is already a lot. So to grieve and also be like, what am I going to do financially? So I'm just really fortunate that that's not my lot. And I want that for other people too.
For sure.
So I infused that when I wrote the book.
Tiffany. This was an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
You understood the assignment when you came here. You understand
Thank
that? So how can people get this? How can people order the book?
So it's available everywhere. You know, I'm sure it's gonna be in Barnes and Nobles, Target, wherever, Amazon, right? But ideally, like if you're not really sure, because I like to support, especially like small-owned or Black-owned bookstores. If you go to madewholeworkbook.com, I always showcase like a small or Black-owned or women-owned bookstore if you want to like support them. But like yes, so madewholeworkbook.com. There's a downloadable, like I have a toolkit for all the tools, which is free. That you can download and get like, so even if you don't get the book, my premise is always, you don't gotta spend money with me to get help from me. So even if you download the toolkit and get your help there, I'm okay with that. If you don't have the money, I tell people go to the library. No, for real, because for me, I'm just like, I've made enough, you know, and that I'm here to make a difference, you know, from the very beginning. But if you want to support, madewholeworkbook.com.
We 100% will support, man. I got one question before we wrap up. Where do you see yourself, or what do you see yourself accomplishing, or just being in the next 5 years? And the only reason I'm asking this question is because I want to be able to watch this interview 5 years from today and say, you know what, Tiffany told me that 5 years ago that she'd be doing this.
So I'm still debating if I'm going to have a show. I've been approached many times, you know. So potentially that, if as long as it aligns with like the piece that I'm seeking. So like, you know, so potentially, because I did Netflix, I actually enjoyed it. You know, so potentially that I've been approached like from some major streamers and platforms and things, so maybe.
You make some good money from Netflix, or is it more notoriety?
I made some good money on the back end, I'll tell you that.
On the back end.
I mean, that back end was heavy, but that front, not so much.
Right. Okay.
Right, so potentially a show. Honestly, I'm off my Jay-Z and want to be on my Sean Carter. I would like to be the business behind the business. So in 5 years, I'd like for there to be less, you see less of me. You know, ideally, I want people to think I fell off. No, for real, that would be like my heart's desire. Like, remember the Budgetnista was fire? And I'm like, as I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to feel like I fell off, that I'm not really like on the front, you know, that I'm just enjoying my life on the back end and consulting, you know, with some of your favorite brands, you know, about how to talk to Black women, you know, continuing to like create all these resources, you know, for us, you know, but really like just seeing less of me, you know, unless that show, you know, comes to fruition and it makes sense for me, but really just like really leaning into my family and friends, travel, enjoying life even more, still like having a business, you know, but one that's more back end than front end, more Sean Carter, less Jay-Z.
I love it. Well, look, Tiffany, thank you so much. I need you to definitely let everybody know how they can contact you, again, how they can support you, but also close us out with a word of wisdom, because this was it's so much. You got to put a bow on all this stuff that we talked about. God. This was so good.
So you can find me. I am the Budgetnista on all the things, right? I am thebudgetnista.com, the Budgetnista. I don't really TikTok, but I got one. Instagram, Twitter. If you're still on Facebook, child, you and your mama can see me there too. YouTube, LinkedIn, and then obviously madewholeworkbook.com. And if I was going to give a piece of advice, I would say that to understand that, I learned this from my therapist, that to love is to lose. It is the most human thing that you can do. That at some point, everything that you love, you're going to lose it. You know, whether it's your favorite shirt and you grow out of it, your favorite earrings, you lose them on your trip in the ocean, you know, someone that you love passes away or you pass away. But it is also one of the greatest gifts that you can give. And that in the effort to chase money, chase things, that you don't forget that truly is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
That there are people who are making way less than you who are way happier.
100%.
Right? And to prioritize that alongside of, they're not mutually exclusive. Like you could have a good financial life, but bigger than that, I want you to have a holistic, wonderful life.
Yeah.
So to prioritize that.
Love it. Listen, man, we can't close it out no better than that, man. Do yourself a favor. Go get the book, Made Whole, and just get good with money in there. Just throw them both in the basket. All right. So make sure you go get the book and also follow, support this young lady because she is killing it and really making a difference. I think through this episode, you can see her heart for people. It's not just a money grab. And I've definitely seen that more than I'd like to with people in the space, but she definitely has a heart for people. And finally, go get you some social proof, meaning go build something significant. But I need you to come back to your community and teach them how you did it because it's the only way our community grows. We out here. Peace. If you like the video that you just watched, click this one. You're going to like this one, maybe even more. Click it right now.